Yuling Shua's imposing manner not only left the man before her speechless, but also somewhat surprised the others at the table. Oh, then. Excuse me. This is my business card, please. Accept it. The man didn't know what had happened to him. To be intimidated by the young girl's aura. But no matter what, Lu Wei was backing her up, so he didn't dare say anything more. So he took out his business card from his bag and handed it to Yuling Shua with both hands. Yuling Shua took the business card with one hand, nodded slightly, and said nothing. The man left reluctantly, looking back every few steps. After he walked out the door, Yuling Shua unhesitatingly threw the business card away without even asking if Lu Wei needed it. Lu Wei raised an eyebrow slightly, a look of interest on her face, and nodded gently. After Yuling Shua sat down, she found the other three staring at her without a word, which made her feel a bit awkward. I'm sorry. Lu, ahem. Annie Lu, I took the liberty. Lu Wei quickly waved her hand and said, no. Good child, you did very well. After the four finished their meal, they left the restaurant. Lu Wei suggested taking the three to a scenic spot for a walk, the most famous scenic spot in Huzhou. The three were also very happy. It wasn't often they got to travel, so it was good to be able to stroll around. Lu Wei drove the car, taking the three to the scenic area. They didn't even have to queue. Led by the scenic area manager, they went straight through the VIP channel. After getting inside, Lu Wei patted Yimingran's shoulder and said softly, Darling, you take little Lini to play first. Yimingran was slightly taken aback, instantly understanding Lu Wei's meaning. She probably wanted to talk to you, Ling Shua, alone. She didn't think about the reason, just nodded and agreed. Okay. Yimingran quickened her pace, took Shen Lini's wrist, and led her away first. Yuling Shua, seeing the two walk so fast, couldn't help but pause. Looking back, she saw Lu Wei smiling at her. Yuling Shua didn't dare to directly chase after them, leaving Lu Wei alone, so she deliberately slowed her pace and came to Lu Wei's side. She was extremely reserved at this moment, her head slightly lowered, her steps not daring to be too large, not wanting to make the atmosphere so awkward, but also not knowing what to say. After walking for a while, Lu Wei slowly spoke, asking softly, President Yu's daughter? Right. Just call me Xiao Xu. President Yu sent you to Zhao Hong's side. For some purpose, right? After all, at the higher levels, it's quite simple to find out such news. Yuling Shua instantly felt as if she had choked, the words stuck in her throat, unable to come out. She had guessed her identity would definitely be exposed, but she hadn't expected. Even her purpose would be exposed. Right, when she first met her, she seemed to have said some things she shouldn't have. She felt cold sweat trickling down her back, her throat dry. That. Lu Wei saw Yuling Shua's difficulty, shook her head, and asked, All right, it's not important. I just want to know, what are your thoughts? I've decided not to follow my father's plans. I want to enter the company through my own efforts, starting from the grassroots, and take it slow. Is that so? That's quite good. Lu Wei nodded with satisfaction, a hint of admiration in her eyes as she looked at Yuling Shua. Yuling Shua felt a bit embarrassed. She should have done this long ago. Before, she had foolishly wanted to take a shortcut. Lu Wei looked ahead and continued. You're right not to get involved in that messy business. It's not as simple as you imagine. I actually think highly of you. Perhaps you could choose another path. Yuling Shua suddenly looked up, staring at Lu Wei in disbelief. What did choosing another path mean? Did it mean she wasn't suitable? Telling her to do whatever she was supposed to do? Lu Wei put her hand in her pocket, as if searching for something, while continuing to speak. Over there definitely aren't that many privileges. This is a strict rule set by Zhao Hong's father himself. But, in my place, at least I have the final say. Then, Lu Wei handed a specially made business card to Yuling Shua. Yuling Shua paused for a moment before reaching out, her hand trembling as she took it. She didn't understand what it meant for a moment. What was in her place? After Yuling Shua took the business card, she looked down at it, and her eyes instantly widened. Huzhou City, Tianheng Electronic Technology Co. Ltd. Chairman. Lu Wei. Yuling Shua's mouth was agape, almost wide enough to fit a fist. She had originally thought Zhao Hong's mother was basking in Zhao Hong's father's glory. But now it seemed both were big shots. This company, she knew it very well, one of the top 3 companies in Huzhou City, and also famous nationwide. The chairman was right beside her now. Lu Wei let out a breath and said lightly, Don't get involved in their messy business. Study hard. If you're willing, come to my place when the time comes. At least I can make your life a bit more comfortable. I'm so So willing. President Liu, I will definitely work hard, strive to enter your company, and also start from the grassroots. Yuling Shua was almost beside herself with excitement. She had met a great benefactor, someone even more helpful than her own father, and her wish was actually to get away from her father. Even if she successfully entered her father's company, she would definitely be gossiped about. After all, her father was a vice president, and none of her efforts would be recognized. She would have to live in her father's shadow for her entire life. Lu Wei smiled and waved her hand, asking, It's fine. Why call me President Liu now? Just call me Annie Liu. I want to ask you, how is your relationship with Little Ran? Yuling Shua paused, looked at Yin Mingran ahead, and said softly, Yin Mingran, our relationship is quite good. She remembered the events of a few days ago. Fortunately, she had made the right decision, otherwise, she and Yin Mingran would have become enemies by now. Lu Wei nodded and said, then you two get along well. I've already decided on Yin Mingran as my daughter-in-law. I will do my best to cultivate her. What you mean is, Yuling Shua's heart skipped a beat. Looking at Yin Mingran's back ahead, a look of surprise appeared on her face. Yes, just like Zhao Hong's father is planning to hand his position over to Zhao Hong, I am preparing to groom Little Ran as my successor. Yuling Shua's imposing manner not only left the man before her speechless, but also somewhat surprised the others at the table. Then, excuse me. This is my business card, please. Accept it. The man didn't know what had happened to him, to be intimidated by the young girl's aura, but no matter what, Lu Wei was backing her up, so he didn't dare say anything more. So he took out his business card from his bag and handed it to Yuling Shua with both hands. Yuling Shua took the business card with one hand, nodded slightly, and said nothing. The man left reluctantly, looking back every few steps. After he walked out the door, Yuling Shua unhesitatingly threw the business card away, without even asking if Lu Wei needed it. Lu Wei raised an eyebrow slightly, a look of interest on her face, and nodded gently. After Yuling Shua sat down, she found the other three staring at her without a word, which made her feel a bit awkward. I'm sorry. Lu. Andy Liu. I took the liberty. Lu Wei quickly waved her hand and said, no. Good child, you did very well. After the four finished their meal, they left the restaurant. Lu Wei suggested taking the three to a scenic spot for a walk, the most famous scenic spot in Huzhou. The three were also very happy. It wasn't often they got to travel, so it was good to be able to stroll around. Lu Wei drove the car, taking the three to the scenic area. They didn't even have to queue. Led by the scenic area manager, they went straight through the VIP channel. After getting inside, Lu Wei patted Yin Mingran's shoulder and said softly, Darling, you take little Lini to play first. Yin Mingran was slightly taken aback, instantly understanding Lu Wei's meaning. She probably wanted to talk to you, Ling Shua alone. She didn't think about the reason, just nodded and agreed. Okay. Yin Mingran quickened her pace, took Shin Lini's wrist, and led her away first. Yuling Shua, seeing the two walk so fast, couldn't help but pause. Looking back, she saw Lu Wei smiling at her. Yuling Shua didn't dare to directly chase after them, leaving Lu Wei alone, so she deliberately slowed her pace and came to Lu Wei's side. She was extremely reserved at this moment, her head slightly lowered, her steps not daring to be too large, not wanting to make the atmosphere so awkward, but also not knowing what to say. After walking for a while, Lu Wei slowly spoke, asking softly, President Yu's daughter? Right, just call me Xiao Xua. President Yu sent you to Zhou Heng's side for some purpose, right? After all, at the higher levels, it's quite simple to find out such news. Yuling Shua instantly felt as if she had choked, the words stuck in her throat, unable to come out. She had guessed her identity would definitely be exposed, but she hadn't expected even her purpose would be exposed. Right, when she first met her, she seemed to have said some things she shouldn't have. She felt cold sweat trickling down her back, her throat dry. That. Lu Wei saw Yuling Shua's difficulty, shook her head, and asked, All right, it's not important. I just want to know, what are your thoughts? I've decided not to follow my father's plans. I want to enter the company through my own efforts, starting from the grassroots, and take it slow. Is that so? That's quite good. Lu Wei nodded with satisfaction, a hint of admiration in her eyes as she looked at Yuling Shua. Yuling Shua felt a bit embarrassed. She should have done this long ago. Before, she had foolishly wanted to take a shortcut. Lu Wei looked ahead and continued. You're right not to get involved in that messy business. It's not as simple as you imagine. I actually think highly of you. Perhaps you could choose another path. Yuling Shua suddenly looked up, staring at Lu Wei in disbelief. What did choosing another path mean? Did it mean she wasn't suitable? Telling her to do whatever she was supposed to do? Lu Wei put her hand in her pocket, as if searching for something, while continuing to speak. Over there definitely aren't that many privileges. This is a strict rule set by Zhao Hong's father himself. But, in my place, at least I have the final say. Then, Lu Wei handed a specially made business card to Yuling Shua. Yuling Shua paused for a moment before reaching out, her hand trembling as she took it. She didn't understand what it meant for a moment. What was? In her place. After Yuling Shua took the business card, she looked down at it, and her eyes instantly widened. Huzhou City, Tianheng Electronic Technology Co. Ltd. Chairman. Lu Wei. Yuling Shua's mouth was agape, almost wide enough to fit a fist. She had originally thought Zhao Hong's mother was basking in Zhao Hong's father's glory. But now it seemed both were big shots. This company, she knew it very well, one of the top 3 companies in Huzhou City, and also famous nationwide. The chairman was right beside her now. Lu Wei let out a breath and said lightly, "Don't get involved in their messy business. Study hard. If you're willing, come to my place when the time comes. At least I can make your life a bit more comfortable." I'm so willing. President Lu, I will definitely work hard, strive to enter your company, and also start from the grassroots. Yuling Shua was almost beside herself with excitement. She had met a great benefactor, someone even more helpful than her own father, and her wish was actually to get away from her father. Even if she successfully entered her father's company, she would definitely be gossiped about. After all, her father was a vice president, and none of her efforts would be recognized. She would have to live in her father's shadow for her entire life. Lu Wei smiled and waved her hand, asking, It's fine. Why call me President Lu now? Just call me Annie Lu. I want to ask you, how is your relationship with Little Ran?" Yuling Shua paused, looked at Yin Mingran ahead, and said softly, "Yin Mingran, our relationship is quite good." She remembered the events of a few days ago. Fortunately, she had made the right decision. Otherwise, she and Yin Mingran would have become enemies by now. Lu Wei nodded and said, Then you two get along well. I've already decided on Yin Mingran as my daughter-in-law. I will do my best to cultivate her." What you mean is..." Yuling Shua's heart skipped a beat. Looking at Yin Mingran's back ahead, a look of surprise appeared on her face. "Yes, just like Zhao Hong's father is planning to hand his position over to Zhao Hong, I am preparing to groom Little Ran as my successor." "Wow!" Yuling Shua gasped, her eyes and expression filled with shock. So it wasn't just Zhao Hong who was an heir, Yin Mingran was too. And to be able to say such things now, just how much must he like and trust Yin Mingran? She was clearly just his son's girlfriend. Even if he adopted her as a goddaughter, would he just hand over the family business like that? Yuling Shua couldn't help but sigh inwardly, unsure if Yin Mingran was incredibly lucky or unlucky. Unlucky because she had suffered such misfortune at a young age, with both parents deceased. If she hadn't met Zhao Hong, her life would have been hellish, constantly in dire straits. Lucky because she met Zhao Hong. She had a place to live, money to spend, a loving boyfriend and mother figure, and even a future where she might inherit a business. This had truly changed her destiny. However, Yin Mingran was a good person, kind enough, and everything she did was faultless. To have all this, she deserved it. Don't tell her about this yet. I'm afraid she'll feel pressured. If your goal is to be with her, then help her properly. Can you do that? Okay, I understand. Yuling Shua nodded. She knew this news absolutely couldn't be told to anyone else. It was best if only she knew, giving her the absolute upper hand. She had no reason to refuse. This path felt like the best, the one she was most satisfied with. She wouldn't have to struggle, wouldn't be put in a difficult position, wouldn't have to engage in vicious competition, and a bright future lay ahead. She was truly glad she had come along today and received this unexpected opportunity. This was the importance of choice. All right, go play with them. Okay. Yuling Shua, as if a great weight had been lifted, quickened her pace and caught up with Yin Mingran and Shun Lini ahead. Yin Mingran looked at Yuling Shua and saw that her complexion seemed even better than before, as if she had heard some good news. "What's wrong? You look quite happy. What did you talk about with Mom?" Nothing much, just chatting. About how my relationship with you is. Annie Lu is very concerned about you. So I said we get along quite well." Yuling Shua casually made an excuse and brushed it off. Yin Mingran didn't suspect anything and nodded in confirmation. The group played outside for a long time, having a lot of fun. Yuling Shua could feel her relationship with Min Gran had improved, but it was still the same with Shunlini. They still couldn't exchange a word. Lu Wei drove the three of them back and prepared to leave herself. Shunlini lowered her head and said softly, "Auntie, drive carefully on your way back. Be safe." "Okay, I know, Lulini. Go tell Lu Ling we'll visit another day." "Okay." Yuling Shua also stepped forward, bowed slightly, and said softly, "Auntie Lu, I look forward to seeing you next time." Lu Wei smiled and nodded, replying, Me too, good child." When Min Gran came to Lu Wei's face was full of doting affection. She hugged Min Gran and whispered in her ear, "Sweetheart, aren't you going out to play tomorrow? You shouldn't have anything on in the evening, right?" Nothing much, why mom? I'll pick you and Zhou Hong up for dinner in the evening." Lu Wei said halfway, then lowered her voice, "And by the way, meet his father." Min Gran was suddenly stunned, her eyes wide, momentarily spaced out, almost unable to react. They had just talked about Zhou Heng's father today, and she had thought it would be a long time before she met him. And now they were meeting tomorrow. She wasn't prepared at all. Okay. Min Gran nodded, stammering her agreement, though inwardly she was already starting to feel nervous. Just as nervous as Shunlini and Yuling Shua were when they met Lu Wei. She was already very familiar with Lu Wei, like a real mother and daughter now, but with Zhou Heng's father, a complete stranger. What should she call him? Should she call him uncle? After all, Zhou Heng's father might not even know about her being adopted as a goddaughter by mom. If he didn't acknowledge her as a goddaughter then, how embarrassing would that be? She was agreeing readily now, but inwardly, she was already starting to plan what to wear tomorrow. "Don't be afraid. I'm here. All right, you guys go back. Be safe." Lu Wei patted Min Gran's head, comforting her softly, then drove away. Min Gran stood there, watching the car recede into the distance, feeling a bit dazed. So nervous. So scared. Her heart felt like it was about to jump out of her chest, completely unsure what to do. Her heart was calling out for Zhao Hong. She needed him badly. Yuling Shua walked over to Min Gran's side and gently supported her shoulder, asking, "What's wrong?" It's nothing, let's go." "Have we decided where to eat?" Min Gran snapped back to reality, shook her head, and looked at Yuling Shua. They just said in the group chat. They're all heading there. Let's go too." "Okay." It was already around 7 in the evening. Everyone had discussed in the group chat where to have dinner, and they were all heading there. Min Gran and the other two were relatively close to the destination, only 2 kilometers away. It was a recently popular restaurant online, with high ratings and many good reviews, which was why they chose it. They were the first to arrive, found a small private room, and sat down. Min Gran still looked worried, anxious about tomorrow's meeting. "Hello, we're here." Just then, Zhu Tao's voice came from outside the door. The three of them looked over and saw Liao Haomiao and Zhu Tao walking in hand. They looked like they were covered in all sorts of souvenirs, hats, bracelets, glasses, even holding a balloon and carrying several bags. It wasn't hard to see they had had a lot of fun at various photo spots. "I brought you guys presents." Zhu Tao handed the bags in her hands to the others one by one. Inside were carefully selected gifts. Though not very expensive, they were a kind of memento. Min Gran kept looking at the door. She had only been separated from Zhou Hong for a day, but she missed him terribly and wanted to see him right away. Only now did she realize that they used to go everywhere together and had never been apart for so long. After waiting for about 10 minutes, everyone finally heard Zhou Hong and Tang Ji's voices from outside the door. "How could we lose that last game? I honestly don't get it. Someone wasn't trying. I won't say who. I've given too much to this team. I've been doing all the work, but someone hasn't been doing anything. Are they throwing for me? Or are they just bad? Hilarious. That play 10 minutes in, I won't comment." I really wanted to ask at that moment, what's between their headphones? Forget it. Your plays are even more humorous. If there's a human sitting in front of that computer, I'll eat. The two voices grew closer, but their bickering, one sentence after another, made everyone in the room, except Min Gran, a little confused. Yuling Shua whispered in Min Gran's ear, "Why are they arguing?" Min Gran gently shook her head, waved her hand, and said calmly, "Not arguing. This is normal." After she finished speaking, Zhou Hong and Tang Ji walked in from outside. Their faces still showed disdain, and after entering, they sat at the furthest possible distance from each other. Zhou Hong sat next to Min Gran, while Tang Ji sat opposite, next to Shunlini. As if they had been talking for a long time, they picked up their cups and drank some water as soon as they sat down. Liao Haomiao frowned slightly, looked at the two, and asked in a low voice, "You two? Don't tell me. You went to an internet cafe. The two responded in unison, yeah. Impressive. The others looked astonished, and even a bit speechless. Coming all this way for a trip, only to go to an internet cafe, to play games? Why not just play at home? Imin Gran, however, found it very normal and had even guessed they must have gone to an internet cafe. She had hoped Zhao Hong would have fun today, so she hadn't messaged him. As a result, Zhao Hong hadn't messaged her either, which could only mean one thing. Zhao Hong was playing games. Otherwise, he would have messaged her long ago. Zhao Hong put down his water cup, looked at Imin Gran beside him, and said softly, "Baby, how was your day?" It was good. I missed you a little." Imin Gran pursed her lips and leaned against Zhao Hong. They hadn't seen each other for a day, and now even Zhao Hong's scent made her miss him. "I miss you too, but I was playing games all the time and didn't message you, I'm sorry." Zhao Hong then realized he hadn't sent Imin Gran a single message all day. Firstly, because Imin Gran was with his mother, and he was very reassured. Secondly, once he started gaming, he got addicted and forgot for a while. Forgetting his girlfriend because of gaming. This was a major taboo, a very serious offense. Normally, at times like this, wouldn't he get a slap? Or she would get up and leave, throwing out a "go live with your games" line. Cold sweat dripped down Zhao Hong's back, his heart pounded, and his mind went blank, unable to think of any explanation. He had already decided if it came to it, he would kneel and beg for forgiveness. Even in front of so many people, no matter what, he couldn't let Imin Gran get angry. Who knew Imin Gran didn't care about this at all, just nodded lightly and said softly, "It's okay, as long as you had fun." Zhao Hong was slightly taken aback, touched by Imin Gran's words. Definitely not as happy as when you're by my side. In the future, let's try not to be apart." Zhao Hong held Imin Gran's hand and whispered in her ear. Imin Gran closed her eyes, smiled, and nodded. Okay. After about 20 minutes, all the dishes they had ordered arrived. They began to eat dinner, planning to return to the hotel to rest afterward. Liao Haomiao looked up at Zhao Hong and asked, "What time is the competition tomorrow? We'll all go watch." 10 in the morning, right? Isn't it?" Zhao Hong looked at Tang Ji, inquiring. Tang Ji nodded and said, 10 o'clock, it should be over in about 2 hours. Zhu Tao quickly chimed in. "Then after we finish lunch, let's go play together in the afternoon. I still have one scenic spot I haven't been to. The internet says you must go with your best friends. You can take lots of photos." "Sure, no problem. Then let's book tickets to go back the day after tomorrow." Zhao Hong nodded in agreement. Just then, Imin Gran remembered that she still had to meet Zhao Hong's father tomorrow night. She hadn't told Zhao Hong about this yet. Imin Gran leaned closer to Zhao Hong and whispered, Honey, I forgot to tell you, today Mom told me she's picking us up for dinner tomorrow night, and also to meet your father." "Oh, let's go then, it's fine." Zhao Hong responded nonchalantly, as if he didn't care about it at all. In fact, he really didn't think it was a big deal. Just meeting his long-unseen father. What could happen? I'm nervous. Is your father easy to get along with? How is he compared to Mom?" Imin Gran was now particularly eager to find out what kind of person Zhao Hong's father was, so she could prepare. If he was a very serious person, then she should also be more formal and well-behaved tomorrow. Pretty easy to get along with, I guess. Anyway, my mom always says my personality is very similar to my dad's. I think it's okay. Is that so? Well, all right then. Imin Gran said so, but her heart was still quite apprehensive, afraid that Zhao Hong's father wouldn't like her. After dinner, everyone returned to the hotel. Still 4 rooms, same as last night. Tang Ji finished her shower first again and lay on the bed playing with her phone. Seeing Yuling Shua walk out after a shower, she frowned slightly. She noticed Yuling Shua's mood seemed different from last night. Last night, she had seemed very nervous and reserved, but today she seemed much more relaxed. Was it because she had stayed with her for one night and got used to it the second time? Yuling Shua was, of course, very happy. She now had other paths to choose from. A prominent figure thought highly of her. Her future boss would be a good friend, and most importantly, she wouldn't have to compete with Tang Ji. This alone was enough to make her happy. Let that Bai Song compete with Tang Ji. She would work hard to get along with Imin Gran. She would have to talk to her father properly about this. He would surely understand. Tang Ji put down her phone, looked at Yuling Shua, and asked, "What's wrong? You look pretty happy. Did something good happen today?" No, just had a lot of fun." "Had fun? Stop pretending. Something good must have happened, right? And the key is, you can't tell me, is that it?" Tang Ji sat up in bed, raised an eyebrow, and looked at Yuling Shua with interest. Yuling Shua scratched her head awkwardly. She knew her little thoughts were useless in front of Tang Ji. The best way to deal with Tang Ji was to tell the truth, but be careful not to say too much. Something good did happen, good for me, but it's not that I deliberately don't want to tell you. It's just that I have a secret I can't speak of, I can't say. Yuling Shua confessed, telling the truth. Right now, only she knew this secret. The more people who knew, the more dangerous it would be for her. What was good might turn bad. So, no matter what, Yuling Shua wouldn't say it. Oh, Tang Ji heard Yuling Shua's words, tilted her head, showing a slightly surprised expression. She could tell Yuling Shua wasn't lying. She was telling the truth. But what good thing was it that she couldn't say? This made the already curious Tang Ji even more curious. But since Yuling Shua had already said so, it wouldn't be good to press her further. She wasn't that domineering, to force Yuling Shua to say something she didn't want to. It wouldn't hurt to guess a little, right? Tang Ji stroked her chin, her lips curving upwards, and muttered, Let me guess then. You want to see my aunt. Something that could make you happy, could it be? Hey. Stop guessing. I'm begging you. I really can't say. Really? Yuling Shua immediately got out of bed, came to Tang Ji, held her hand, and shook her head seriously. She knew Tang Ji might actually guess it, so she didn't dare let her guess. Her nervous and fearful look startled Tang Ji, who leaned back, nodded dumbly, and said, Oh, okay then. She hadn't even started guessing, and Yuling Shua reacted like this. This also proved that this matter might be really important. Then, even if she wanted to guess, she could only do it secretly in her heart. Did only she know about this? Or did Mingren know too? The more she acted like this, the more her curiosity grew. Night had fallen, and each room gradually quieted down. But in Liao Haomiao and Zhu Tao's room, a movie was still playing, and the volume was turned up quite loud. The two lay in bed. Although a movie was playing, their minds didn't seem to be on it. They pursed their lips, bit their lips, their faces flushed because from time to time they could hear faint sound from the next room. It was clear that Mingran was trying very hard to restrain herself, but she still couldn't help making sounds. Zhu Tao covered her face with her hand and muttered softly, Why are those two like this every day? Liao Haomiao also looked helpless, smiled wryly, and said, I don't know. So what? Is Mingran a succubus? The marks on their necks were already like that, which was already exaggerated. Turns out that was just their basic hormonal outburst. Liao Haomiao and Zhu Tao were also slightly affected by this situation, feeling a little hot inside. They were both at an age where they were very curious about this kind of thing. Now, such things were happening next door. How could they not care? Liao Haomiao felt his heart pounding. He turned to look at Zhu Tao beside him and found that she was also secretly looking at him. When their eyes met, she quickly covered her eyes, pretending not to have seen. Liao Haomiao now felt a bit like wanted to do the same thing with Zhu Tao. In such a scene, the person he loved most was lying beside him. Their feelings for each other had also warmed up a lot today. At this moment, it wasn't surprising to have such thoughts. But the problem was, he didn't know how to bring it up. This kind of thing was too difficult to talk about. After a while, Liao Haomiao gathered a bit of courage, stretched out his arm, pretending to stretch, but wrapped his arm around the back of Zhu Tao's head. Zhu Tao obediently lifted her head and pillowed it on Liao Haomiao's arm. Then, Liao Haomiao naturally pulled her into his embrace. Zhu Tao was a little surprised, but didn't resist. She could now clearly hear Liao Haomiao's heartbeat. It was very fast. The two hugged for a few minutes, and the movie ended at this time. Liao Haomiao turned off the TV. The room was very dark and quiet. The next room also seemed to quiet down. Their surroundings became so silent that they could clearly hear each other's breathing. Your heart is beating so fast. Zhu Tao spoke softly. Liao Haomiao felt a bit awkward, mumbled and said no more. He now didn't dare to say it, didn't dare to make that request. He felt that being able to hold Zhu Tao and sleep was already very good. He was already very satisfied. After a while, Zhu Tao slowly spoke, asking softly, Do you also want to? Liao Haomiao was suddenly stunned. He hadn't expected Zhu Tao to bring this up out of the blue. What did this mean? Did it mean she also had this intention? What should he say now? Should he admit it? I'm fine. Liao Haomiao regretted this answer as soon as he said it. If you want it, you want to. If you don't, you don't. What did this answer mean? Oh no, I have thought about it. Liao Haomiao changed his answer, admitting it honestly. He was even more nervous now, not knowing what to do. Zhu Tao lowered her head, pursed her lips, placed her hands on Liao Haomiao's chest, and after a long silence, she finally spoke. Can we wait a little longer? I'm not ready yet. She knew what Liao Haomiao meant, and she was very willing, but She didn't want to right now. She felt it was a bit rash, as if influenced by Zhao Hong and Yiming next door, just joining the fun. And it was so quiet now, if they made any noise and were heard by the next room, she would die of embarrassment. She wouldn't dare face anyone the next day. So she felt, now was not the time, they should find a suitable opportunity. After hearing this, Liao Haomiao wasn't too disappointed. In fact, he had just calmed down and thought about it, feeling it was too rash. Okay, I understand. Then can I just hold you like this and sleep? Of course, I want to hold you too. Early the next morning, everyone got up, ready to go watch the competition. They had breakfast together at 9, and around 9:30, they arrived at the venue. In the end, not many players had signed up, exactly 32. They would PK one-on-one to determine 16, then the top 8, top 4, semifinals, and finals. Good luck. You guys should be able to win, right? One champion and one runner-up. Liao Haomiao cheered for Zhao Hong and Tang Ji. He himself couldn't play at all, but at least he could understand. The rest of the girls, almost none of them could understand. Maybe only Yiming could understand a little. I'm not too sure. There's one guy who's pretty good. Zhao Hong tilted his chin, pointing in a direction. Everyone looked over and saw a boy, looking serious, glancing left and right, as if searching for someone. After a while, the boy saw Zhao Hong and Tang Ji. His gaze fixed, he narrowed his eyes and frowned slightly. Tang Ji looked at Zhao Hong and asked, "So, who do you think is better, me or him?" "You're better." "I think so too." The two nodded and walked forward, preparing to compete. The others sat in the audience. Zhu Tao even brought snacks and distributed them to the others. "By the way, let me show you the photos we're going to take this afternoon. What do you think?" Let me see. The girls thought that since they couldn't understand the game anyway, they might as well chat. Zhao Hong and Tang Ji walked towards the boy, and the boy also walked towards them. After the three met, they stood there, silent for a moment. "Zhao Hong, is this the person you said is better than you?" The boy pointed to Tang Ji beside him, one eyebrow raised higher than the other, and asked doubtfully. "Yeah, her name is Tang Ji, my younger sister." "Oh, hello, my name is Su Pengyi. Can you really play?" The boy looked at Tang Ji, extended his hand, wanted to shake hands amicably. But Tang Ji just glanced down at Su Pengyi's hand, didn't shake it, turned her head, and said lightly, "Whether I can play or not, you'll find out." Su Pengyi sneered, withdrew his hand, looked at Tang Ji with interest, nodded, and said, "All right, then good luck. If I don't see you in the finals, I'll be disappointed. You won't even make it to the semifinals, will you?" Tang Ji rolled her eyes, scoffed, and shrugged. "Your taunting ability is really weak." Su Pengyi was left speechless and turned away. The competition started soon. The host first livened up the atmosphere, introduced all the sponsors' advertisements, and then the competition officially began. 32 people, in front of several game machines below the final stage, competed in turns according to the drawn order. The games progressed quickly, and soon 16 people were decided. Then, in the same way, numbers were drawn to determine the top 8. Zhao Hong and Tang Ji were relatively lucky, not drawing each other and completely avoiding Su Pengyi. Apart from the three of them, the skills of the other players were not that good. Some even won the previous round by luck. After the intensity increased in this round, they clearly couldn't win by luck anymore. Yuling Shua looked up and asked in surprise, "Only 8 people left so quickly. Is this game very difficult?" Whether the game is difficult or not depends on who the opponent is. If the opponents are those two, then it's definitely difficult. Liao Haomiao shrugged. Although he couldn't see the screens of the matches below, he could see that Zhao Hong and Tang Ji finished soon after sitting down. Their opponents, on the other hand, were beaten to the point of doubting life, shaking their heads in disbelief as they stood up and left. "What if we two draw each other?" Zhao Hong looked at Tang Ji and asked. The quarterfinals were about to begin. If the two of them drew each other at this time, only one could advance. It should be fine, right? It probably won't be that coincidental. Tang Ji wasn't worried, as if it didn't matter even if she faced Zhao Hong. In the end, the numbers they drew did not match. The quarterfinals were more intense. Zhao Hong and Tang Ji couldn't win so easily anymore, exerting a bit more effort. However, the outcome was still without suspense. Liao Haomiao squinted, looked at the 4 people walking onto the stage, and muttered, "Only 4 left. Did they win?" The others quickly looked up, looking expectantly at the stage. At this time, 4 people were standing on the stage, 3 men and 1 woman. Zhao Hong, Tang Ji, and Su Pengyi were among them, and there was also a chubby boy wearing glasses with oily hair. The numbers of the 4 people scrolled on the big screen and finally stopped slowly. The result was Zhao Hong versus Su Pengyi, and Tang Ji versus the chubby boy. Su Pingyi saw the result, chuckled lightly, looked at Zhao Hong beside him, and said, "What a coincidence, I was hoping to see you in the finals." Zhao Hong shrugged indifferently and said, "It doesn't matter, as long as I don't encounter Tang Ji. This way, at least one of us is guaranteed to make it to the finals, no loss." Su Pingyi frowned tightly. It wasn't the first time he had heard Zhao Hong mention Tang Ji's skill, but he still hadn't seen what Tang Ji was truly capable of. How big could a girl really be? The first match was Tang Ji's. Zhao Hong and Su Pingyi stood below the stage, watching the big screen. Su Pingyi watched very attentively, wanting to use this opportunity to see Tang Ji's true strength. For the semifinals, there was also a commentator on site. In-men ran, and the others stopped chatting and focused on the front. As it officially began, Tang Ji started her offense, staring at the screen in front of her, operating the joystick. Oh, heavy kick directly intercepted by a heavy punch, nice. Pushed forward a bit. Feinted a retreat to bait the opponent's rising dragon punch, followed by a combo. Jump. Anti-air. Beautiful. This player Tang Ji's fundamentals are very solid. Her reactions are especially fast. Su Pingyi watched from below, his expression growing uglier. He saw Tang Ji's offense was very aggressive, and every combo was incredibly smooth. This technique didn't seem like something she could execute, yet it undeniably was. She's even holding back, really? Zhao Hong smiled helplessly and muttered softly. He had fought Tang Ji too many times. He could tell at a glance that this wasn't her usual playstyle. This was to confuse her opponent. Su Pingyi tilted his head, looked at Zhao Hong, and asked, "What do you think my chances are against Tang Ji?" Zhao Hong glanced at Su Pingyi doubtfully and said, "No comment. If you insist I say, then I think Tang Ji is guaranteed to win. It doesn't matter what the odds are, even if it's 9 for you and 1 for her, she can still win." KO'd. The match is decided. The winner is player Tang Ji. Tang Ji won the match simply, got up from her seat, and walked off the stage. Her opponent, the chubby boy, was currently in shock, unable to believe he had lost just like that. He had thought his opponent was just a girl. How good could she possibly be? Turns out, he didn't even have room to operate, completely suppressed by the other side. Stuck from the start, stuck till the end. Su Pingyi silently nodded, looked at Zhao Hong beside him, and said, I admit she's very good. I underestimated her a bit." Zhao Hong chuckled, nodded, and said, "The final might be a PK between you two." "What? Scared before even playing against me? Think you definitely can't beat me?" Su Pingyi's lips curved upwards in a faint smile. He thought Zhao Hong was making excuses for losing to him later, giving himself a preemptive warning. But facing Su Pingyi's taunt, Zhao Hong didn't care at all. He just nodded lightly and said, I haven't played in a long time, my skills are too rusty. If it were before, I'd definitely fight you to the death, but now, it's not important anymore." "Not important anymore?" "No, bro, why isn't it important?" Zhao Hong turned his head and looked toward the audience. In-men Gran, sitting there, immediately smiled happily and waved at him when she saw him looking over. Zhao Hong also immediately raised his hand in response, raising an eyebrow slightly with a smile. "Of course, it's because there's something more important." "Huh." Su Pingyi followed the direction of Zhao Hong's wave, but because there were too many people there, he didn't know who Zhao Hong was waving to. "All right, it's our turn. Come on. I still quite approve of your skills. Maybe you can win." Su Pingyi smiled, then walked onto the stage first. Zhao Hong glanced at the stage and then walked up, meeting Tang Ji, who was walking down. They exchanged a look. Force his hand, learn from what I just did, probe his true strength. "I know." The two exchanged a few words softly and then parted. On stage, Zhao Hong and Su Pingyi went to their respective positions, ready to start the match. The audience also watched intently. They hadn't quite understood what was happening before Tang Ji had already won, so they thought Zhao Hong could also win easily. During the character selection phase, Zhao Hong saw that Su Pingyi didn't choose yesterday's character and couldn't help frowning. What does this mean? Is he planning to hold back? Or was yesterday not his best character? As soon as the match started, Zhao Hong manipulated the joystick and began to attack Su Pingyi. The same routine. Su Pingyi was a bit puzzled. Zhao Hong's attack style was exactly the same as Tang Ji's. It was as if the two were being controlled by the same person, or was Zhao Hong imitating? Such an aggressive playstyle made it difficult for Su Pingyi to parry, shifting from conservative offense to dodging and defense. Next, Zhao Hong seemed to reveal a flaw, which Su Pingyi instantly seized, and the situation reversed in an instant. "Tisish," Tang Ji chuckled lightly, shrugged helplessly, and muttered softly, "He can even make a mistake like that. Being in a relationship really affects your touch. TSK. Zhao Hong clicked his tongue, frowning slightly, feeling it wasn't good. It seemed difficult to handle now. His skills had indeed deteriorated a lot, mainly because he hadn't played in a long time, and his mind hadn't been on gaming for a long time either. Afterwards, the overall rhythm was controlled by Su Pingyi, and Zhao Hong could only remain passive. The winner is player Su Pingyi. Sigh. Zhao Hong sighed, got up from his seat, and prepared to step down. He tried his best, ultimately losing to Su Pingyi by a small margin. There was nothing he could do. Su Pingyi also stood up, walked towards Zhao Hong, came in front of him, and extended his hand. Zhao Hong paused, looked up at him, and asked, "What? You're not here to mock me. Are you kidding? Taunt before the match, be friendly after. I'm not that bad. I still have basic morals and decency." After Su Pingyi finished speaking, seeing Zhao Hong still slightly dazed, he directly took Zhao Hong's hand, shook it briefly, and said, "You're a good opponent. I had a lot of fun. I hope we can meet again next time and play casually without competition." "Ah, okay." Zhao Hong nodded and agreed. He hadn't expected the other person to be quite decent, at least very well-mannered. Zhao Hong walked off the stage, came to Tang Ji's side, and shook his head helplessly. "I tried my best, couldn't beat him. I admit I'm bad." Tang Ji gently patted Zhao Hong's shoulder and said, "Forget it, your mind wasn't on this. How would you play well?" Zhao Hong scratched his head awkwardly and muttered, "That's true. Do you think I've changed a bit? I feel I don't love gaming as much as before." "Yeah, you only just realized? All right, go quickly, go to your most important." Tang Ji pushed Zhao Hong, pushing him towards the back. Zhao Hong looked up towards the audience, where Yin Mingran was smiling at him, waving. A smile reappeared on Zhao Hong's face. "Ah, then I'll go back first. Finish up quickly, you must win. Then we'll go play in the afternoon." "No problem." After speaking, Zhao Hong left, heading straight for the audience. Not long ago, he had been looking forward to the end of the college entrance exams, the holidays, so he could play games to his heart's content. But now, when he could play games without any restrictions, he didn't have the same feeling as before. He still liked playing, but the addiction wasn't as strong. For him, the most important thing now was to be by Yi Mingran's side. A close loss. Just a little bit off. A small mistake. Liao Haomiao, seeing Zhao Hong come over, slapped his thigh, looking regretful. He was so close to winning. Yuling Shua also whispered from the side, "Yeah, just a tiny bit. We can only say the opponent was luckier." Although Zhu Tao and Shun Lini didn't quite understand, they also knew Zhao Hong's loss was regrettable. Zhao Hong sighed helplessly. He also felt it was a bit regrettable, but a loss was a loss, and there was nothing he could do. He came and sat down next to Yin Mingran. Yin Mingran took out a tissue, turned around, helped Zhao Hong wipe his sweat, and asked with a smile, "How was it? Did you have fun?" Zhao Hong's eyes widened slightly. He blinked a few times, looking at Yin Mingran with some surprise. Everyone else was comforting him, talking about how regrettable the loss was. Only Yin Mingran cared if he had fun. She hadn't been paying attention to the match, but had been watching him the whole time. Perhaps this was why she was so important in his heart, because he was also the most important in hers. Zhao Hong's eyes sparkled. He pursed his lips slightly and chuckled. "Ah, it was fun, but not as fun as being with you." The finals are about to begin. Player Tang Ji and player Su Pingyi. Who will win the championship? Tang Ji walked onto the stage, looking at Su Pingyi before her. Her gaze seemed much calmer, as if she had relaxed. Su Pingyi smiled and asked, "I didn't expect it to be you in the finals with me, Tang Ji. Are you ready?" Tang Ji turned to her position and replied lightly, "Cut the crap." TSK, TSK. Su Pingyi clicked his tongue. Seeing Tang Ji so unaccommodating, he didn't plan to say anything more. Su Pingyi sat down and chose his main character, the one that had dominated the field yesterday. After all, it was the finals, he had to give it his all. Tang Ji, on the other hand, unhurriedly popped a piece of chewing gum in her mouth before starting to choose her character. The finals officially began. Su Pingyi knew Tang Ji was the type to use aggressive tactics, so he was very conservative from the start, waiting for a defensive counterattack. After a while, Su Pingyi frowned in confusion, thinking, did Tang Ji change her tactics? Why wasn't she attacking like before? Time passed, second by second. Su Pingyi started to lose his patience and began to attack proactively. Tang Ji, however, was adept at both offense and defense. No matter what moves Su Pingyi used, he couldn't gain an advantage. TSK. What's going on? Su Pingyi sensed something was wrong. The person he was fighting against seemed to have changed. Wasn't it Tang Ji controlling her? How? How was she so good? Was he about to be flawlessly solo killed? Su Pengyi's expression became increasingly serious, his demeanor more and more tense, and cold sweat even dripped from his temples. He felt like he was drenched in sweat. The pressure Tang Ji was exuding was simply too great, making it hard for him to breathe. It was the first time he had ever felt such pressure on Tang Ji's side. However, she seemed to feel nothing, leaning back in her chair, her expression indifferent, as if she wasn't treating this as a competition at all, but rather a casual game to pass the time. The atmosphere on site also heated up. The commentators didn't even know what to say. They had initially thought it would be a particularly exciting match, at least evenly matched, but now looking at it, how did it seem like a one-sided steamroll? Was the skill gap that large? What's going on? What's going on? Su Pengyi was so anxious he started mashing buttons, nervously clenching his teeth. Before the match started, he had been quite relaxed, feeling he had at least a 50% chance of winning, but now, not even a 10% chance. After an intense battle, Su Pengyi's heart completely died. He finally realized just how formidable Tang Ji was and how vast the skill gap between them was. It turned out that the plays he had seen from her earlier weren't her full strength at all, perhaps not even half. 1. The champion is player Tang Ji. Whoa! The people in the audience couldn't help but gasp in amazement. They were completely stunned. They had never witnessed such skill before. It was as if it were coded, like a script. They couldn't believe it was a real person playing. Zhao Hong nodded in satisfaction. It seemed that in terms of gaming, he really couldn't compare to Tang Ji anymore. Before, he could still spar with her, but now if he were to PK with Tang Ji, he would definitely lose miserably. After it ended, Tang Ji and Su Pengyi stood up and came to the center of the stage, ready for the award ceremony. Su Pengyi looked as if he had lost his soul, like a walking corpse. Tang Ji looked him up and down and said, "Practice slowly. To be honest, you play pretty average." Cough, cough. This sentence was like a knife plunged into Su Pengyi's heart, making him cough violently, his heart clenching. Although this wasn't a formal competition, with a mixed bag of players, and couldn't compare to professionals, Tang Ji's level was completely that of a professional player. She could definitely win a championship or runner-up in a formal competition. He had thought he could dominate here. Who knew he would encounter someone like Tang Ji in such a small competition? Su Pengyi turned his head and stared at Tang Ji's side profile, gently biting his lip, lost in thought. After a while, he suddenly spoke. "Tang Ji, I have a favor to ask of you." Huh? Tang Ji looked at Su Pengyi in confusion, not knowing what he was going to do. Unexpectedly, Su Pengyi directly bowed his head and said loudly, "Please take me as your disciple." Tang Ji's usually calm eyebrows almost knitted together, her face filled with astonishment. Su Pengyi raised his head, his expression serious, and said, "Please, I want to be your disciple. I'm willing to do anything. Paying tuition is fine too." "No way. Please. Can I add you as a friend? Leave a phone number." "No." After Tang Ji received her award, she hurriedly left the stage, skipping the speech and other procedures, as if afraid Su Pengyi would cling to her. "Hey, TSK." Su Pengyi watched Tang Ji's hastily retreating figure and scratched his head in frustration. He was completely convinced by Tang Ji's skill, and now just wanted to become her disciple. Even if he couldn't, just making her acquaintance would be good. He had never seen a girl who was so good at gaming. He remembered when people used to ask him what type of girl he liked. He would say he liked girls who were good at gaming, but then he thought there were too few of them. Now that he had finally met one, he didn't want to miss out. Hey, when Su Pengyi wanted to chase after her, he found that Tang Ji had disappeared without a trace, completely out of sight. Su Pengyi stood there stunned, his face bitter, muttering softly, "Tang Ji." And one afternoon, the video of Tang Ji and Su Pengyi's match was posted online and frantically reposted. Who is this girl? So skilled. Hee, did she play this? Could it be cheating? This guy got beaten so badly his face turned green. Isn't this Tang Ji? From our high school. If it's really her, then it makes sense. The internet was abuzz with discussion for a while, and many people took notice. However, Tang Ji and the others who were having fun outside didn't know. The afternoon passed, and everyone was tired from playing. They went back to the hotel to rest. But Zhao Hong and Min Gran couldn't rest yet. It was already dinner time, which meant they were going to meet Zhao Heng's father. Ever since Min Gran returned to the hotel, she had been busy meticulously dressing herself up until Lu Wei's call came. Quick, quick! The phone. Min Gran was still tidying up when she heard the phone ring. She quickly asked Zhao Hong to bring her the phone. "Hello, Mom. Hey, sweetheart, ready to go? I'll pick you up for dinner. Is it convenient now?" Yes, convenient. Zhao Hong and I will be ready soon." Min Gran said this, but her hands hadn't stopped moving, adjusting her clothes. Even Zhao Hong was helping out. All right then, send me your location. I'll come pick you up now. No rush. Okay. After hanging up the phone, Min Gran turned around, her hands constantly patting Zhao Heng's chest, stamping her feet anxiously. What do I do? What do I do? Honey, I'm nervous. Can I do this? Or maybe I should say, I suddenly caught the flu. Next time. All right, all right. Zhao Hong put his arms around Min Gran's waist and comforted her softly. Don't be nervous. No matter what happens, I'm here. Don't be afraid. Min Gran nodded lightly. She could only rely on Zhao Hong now. No matter what, she had to go. If she made an excuse not to go for the first meeting, the first impression would definitely be terrible. After getting ready, Zhao Hong and Min Gran prepared to go out and wait at the hotel entrance. How do I look now? Is it okay? Min Gran stood in front of Zhao Hong, twirled around for him to see. The clothes she chose were beautiful and conservative, and her makeup was light, enhancing her features. Zhao Hong looked her up and down seriously. Min Gran could pull off various styles, whether sexy or cute. Today, she leaned towards a demure look, suitable for meeting parents, making a good first impression of a well-behaved child. Very good. No problem. Zhao Hong gave a thumbs up, an affirmative gesture, revealing his neat teeth. Min Gran giggled, leaned into Zhao Heng's embrace, and the two were affectionate for a while before walking out. However, just as they stepped out of the room, they froze in the hallway. The doors to the room next to theirs were open, and their friend were all standing outside, staring at them. What are you guys doing? Seeing you off, Tang Ji said first, and the others stood behind her, nodding with serious expressions. This made Min Gran, who had relaxed considerably, nervous all over again. Their posture was like seeing her off to an execution. Don't fool around, making it seem like such a big deal. Zhao Hong waved his hand, speechless. Of course it's not a big deal for you. Go on, remember to say hi to my uncle for me. Zhao Hong took Min Gran's hand and led her out of the hotel. It was already dark outside, but still brightly lit. Just as the two of them walked out of the hotel, they saw Lu Wei's car drive over and stop at the hotel entrance. The driver's side window rolled down, and Lu Wei appeared in the driver's seat, waving at them. Come on. Hi, Mom. Good evening. Min Gran waved and greeted, also glancing at the passenger seat to see if anyone was there. After they got into the car, Lu Wei glanced at the rearview mirror, squinted her eyes, and smiled. Sweetheart, you're dressed so beautifully tonight. It's all right. Min Gran lowered her head, a little embarrassed. Don't be nervous. It's just dinner, a meeting. I'm here. Mom will always be your solid support. Okay. Min Gran pursed her lips, feeling warm inside. With these words, she was no longer nervous, and her mood relaxed. Lu Wei drove, taking the two to a restaurant. It wasn't a very high-end place, just looked clean and cozy, especially suitable for family meals. Min Gran had been worried that if they went to some five-star hotel for dinner, she would definitely make a fool of herself. Zhao Hong got out of the car first, then looked at Min Gran in the car, extended his hand, and said softly, Let's go. Min Gran nodded, placed her hand on Zhao Heng's, and got out of the car. Lu Wei walked ahead, leading the two into the restaurant. As soon as they entered, the manager appeared from somewhere, hurried to Lu Wei. Xiao Lu, you're here. Please, please. The manager looked even more respectful than a waiter, personally leading the way for Lu Wei. The new receptionist at the front desk was also seeing their usually arrogant manager like this for the first time, her jaw almost dropping. The group followed the manager's lead to a private room. Then the manager retreated. Min Gran stood outside the door, took a deep breath, already imagining what Zhao Heng's father would be like once she went in. Would he try to intimidate her first, with an unsmiling face? Or would he ignore her, pay her no attention? No matter what, she was mentally prepared. She absolutely wouldn't be sad or bummed out. She would accept everything with a calm mind. Lu Wei pushed open the door of the private room. Inside was a round table, not large, about right for 5 or 6 people. The private room was exquisitely decorated, very beautiful, giving a comfortable feeling at first sight. Min Gran's eyes widened, looking at the person at the round table. The man looked quite young, not at all like he had such a grown-up son. He had a neat hairstyle, wore a formal suit, very proper. His features were very three-dimensional, with sharp angles, especially his double eyelids and high nose bridge, which were very prominent. He also wore glasses. At first glance, one would feel he was very cultured. Except, right now he seemed to be playing a game. The man had his head down, legs crossed, holding his phone horizontally, eyes glued to the screen. Lu Wei rolled her eyes, raised her hand, and coughed a few times. Ahem. Honey, look who's here. The man frowned slightly, looked up, and when he saw Zhao Hong and Yin Mingran behind Lu Wei, his eyes widened a little. The man turned off his phone, placed it on the table, then stood up from his seat. He was tall and slim, wearing leather shoes, and slowly walked over to Zhao Hong and the others. Dad! MMM. The man nodded, looked at Yin Mingran beside him. Yin Mingran quickly bowed and said softly, Uncle, hello. My name is Yin Mingran. I'm Zhao Hong's girlfriend. Her voice grew softer towards the end. Zhao Hong and his father looked quite alike, but for some reason, standing in front of his father, she felt a strong sense of pressure. This kind of aura and presence. Young people really couldn't handle it, and might even be too scared to speak. I've heard. I am Zhao Hong's father. My name is Zhou Junyao. The man nodded lightly, his face still expressionless. Paired with his magnetic, deep voice, he seemed very stern. Uncle Zhou, I'm sorry I came along today to bother you. Mingran's hand tightly gripped the corner of Zhao Hong's clothes, her voice very small, as if forcing herself to speak, her body seemingly already trembling slightly. It's fine, Zhou Junyao replied faintly, still sounding devoid of any emotion. Just then, from behind him, a large palm suddenly slapped over. Smack! Honey, what you doing? You scared Xiaoran, you know? Be normal. Lu Wei slapped Zhou Junyao on the back of his head, making his head jerk and causing him to bite his lip in pain. What are you doing? Can't I establish some authority in front of the kids? Zhou Junyao rubbed his head, turned around, and blinked at Lu Wei, as if winking. But Lu Wei wasn't buying it at all, crossed her arms, and said, What are you pretending for? Really? Yin Mingran was completely lost at this point, hiding behind Zhao Hong, looking bewildered. Where did that imposing, unsmiling person from just now go? How did one slap reveal his true colors? It seemed like even his facial features had changed. Zhao Hong sighed, turned his head, and whispered to Yin Mingran behind him. I told you, his personality is a bit odd. I don't understand him either. Oh, Yin Mingran nodded in sudden realization. No wonder Zhao Hong had said his father's personality was a bit strange. So that's what it was. It felt like his appearance and personality didn't match at all. Lu Wei walked over and took Yin Mingran's hand. Come, sweetheart, don't mind him. Sit next to me. Okay. The two went to the round table and sat down. Zhou Junyao glanced back at Zhao Hong, reached out and patted Zhao Hong's chest, muttering, You're even more built than your old man, really. Zhao Hong supported Zhou Junyao's shoulder, led him to the table to sit down, and said, Dad, it's been so long. Let's have a good chat. After Zhou Junyao sat down, he crossed his legs, propped his chin on his hand, and said, It's been so long. Couldn't you even give me a call? No. Weren't you very busy? And you haven't called me either, have you? Aren't you the son? Can't you take the initiative to call me? Even if it's to ask for money or something, I would definitely give it to you. You, as a father, haven't contacted your son for so long. How would I know if you're swamped with work? How would I dare to call? If I asked you for money and you scolded me, what then? All right, you two shut up. Lu Wei slammed the table, stopping the two from continuing. Lu Wei frowned and said, Father and son are cut from the same cloth. Neither of you should talk. Zhao Hong and Zhou Junyao immediately shut their mouths, looking at each other helplessly. Yin Mingran lowered her head, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, and couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. She had been truly frightened just now, even feeling a bit suffocated, not daring to speak much. Only now did she relax a lot. So he was just trying to appear authoritative. She had thought Zhao Hong's father was a really stern and terrifying person. At least this authority had indeed been established with her. Even now, she still had lingering fear and didn't dare to look up. Lu Wei seemed to notice Yin Mingran's state, reached out and gently put her arm around Yin Mingran's shoulder. Then, she looked up at Zhou Junyao, frowned, and gave him a look. Zhou Junyao understood, nodded, and straightened his body. Ahem. Is it called Yin Mingran? Zhao Hong whispered a reminder from the side. Right, Xiaoran, isn't it? Yes. Yin Mingran quickly looked up, straightened her back, and replied. Don't be nervous. I was just teasing you earlier. I've heard all about your situation. From now on, you're part of our family. You don't have to worry about anything. Hearing Zhou Junyao's words, a light seemed to bloom in Yin Mingran's eyes. Did this mean he accepted her? Was this real? It felt like a dream. The corners of Yin Mingran's mouth slowly curved upwards. She nodded happily and replied, Okay, thank you, uncle. Hey, Zhou Junyao raised his hand, shook his head, and said, You call my wife Mom, but you call me uncle. What's that supposed to mean? What if people misunderstand? Then, In Min Gran gently bit her lip, lowered her head slightly, suddenly feeling a bit shy. Lu Wei gently shook her shoulder and whispered in her ear, "Quick, say it, don't be shy." "Duh, Dad, smack." The moment In Min Gran stammered it out, a large red envelope suddenly flew over, landing right in front of her. This scene startled both In Min Gran and Zhao Hong. They looked up in surprise at Zhou Junyao, only to find him covering his forehead with his hand, head down, his face hidden. They only heard him whisper, "Gift for calling me Dad." Lu Wei chuckled, shook her head, and sighed. Overjoyed, aren't you? You have a daughter now. What was the point of putting on that act? Before they arrived, you were clearly looking forward to it so much. Zhou Junyao glanced up at Lu Wei, pouted, and muttered softly, "Who told you not to have a second child with me? You and I both clearly wanted a daughter." "I wouldn't. What if it's another boy, just like you, what then?" As soon as Lu Wei finished speaking, the three of them all looked toward Zhao Hong. Zhao Hong was leaning back in his chair, arms crossed, quietly watching the fun from the side. The smile on his face instantly froze. How? In this short time, did it come to him? Could this also be an insinuation about him? No. I'm pretty good, aren't I? As a boy, I'm not bad either. Zhao Hong also sat up straight, no longer crossing his arms, and placed his hands on the table, looking particularly well-behaved, because he realized that their family seemed to favor girls over boys a bit. Lu Wei shrugged, patting In Mingran's head while saying, "You're very good now, of course. Isn't that thanks to Xiaoran? Do you dare deny it?" "I wouldn't dare." Zhou Junyao tapped the table lightly with his hand, looked at Zhao Hong, and asked seriously, "When do you two plan to get married?" This sentence completely stunned Zhao Hong and In Mingran. This sudden question caught them completely off guard. In Mingran's face turned red instantly, all the way to her ears, but her pursed lips seemed to hold a smile. Zhao Hong awkwardly scratched his head and said, Not old enough yet. Still need 2 more years, right? Your mom and I got married first and then registered." Zhao Hong looked at his mother in shock. He didn't know his parents had this story. But they got married over 20 years ago, right? Back then, such things were probably not surprising. Lu Wei looked helpless, covered her face, shook her head, and said irritably, "Wasn't it you who insisted on getting married? Insisting you were afraid I'd run away. Where could I run to?" Ahem. In Min Gran immediately lowered her head, letting out a soft sound, as if suppressing a laugh. This reaction was too real. Worried his wife would run away, so he quickly got married. But having such thoughts was normal. After all, his wife was such a beautiful person, he would definitely want to marry her home quickly. Zhou Junyao turned his head to the side and muttered softly, "There were several guys chasing you back then. How can I not be anxious?" All right. Why are you rushing these 2 kids? Xiaoran definitely won't run away, right?" In Min Gran nodded emphatically and immediately replied, I will absolutely never leave Zhao Hong." This was beyond doubt. Nothing could change her mind. Zhou Junyao nodded and said, "I'm not worried about Xiaoran. I'm worried about..." Zhou Junyao said, turning his head to look at Zhao Hong. Zhao Hong was taken aback, craned his neck, and widened his eyes. "No, it's my problem again? There's even less need to worry about me. I can't run away, and no one's chasing me." Zhou Junyao sighed, shook his head, and said, "You don't understand. If things aren't settled on your end, I have people bothering me every day. These past 2 days, you came to propose a match again." Cough, cough, cough. Lu Wei immediately coughed several times, interrupting Zhou Junyao, not letting him continue. But In Min Gran had already heard it, her face blank, her expression completely frozen. "What was a match? Old you? Who was that? Let's eat. Tell them to serve the food." Lu Wei quickly changed the subject, telling them to serve the food. Although the topic was temporarily diverted, those words were deeply imprinted in In Mingran's heart. At this moment, she remembered that she had been picked up by Zhao Hong. Being with Zhao Hong had already placed her in a state of happiness, completely forgetting her own status. She now knew that Zhao Hong's family was very well off, with a strong background, to the point where people were proposing matches. Then, was she really qualified to marry Zhao Hong? Soon, a table full of delicious-looking dishes was served. The family began to eat, and then they started chatting about various things, asking about Tang Ji's family, Shenlini's family. These relatives hadn't visited each other for a long time. Although In Min Gran was eating, she was very quiet, her mind constantly replaying what had just happened. Every time she thought about it, her heart would tighten, and she would even stare blankly while eating. Throughout the meal, Lu Wei kept chatting with In Min Gran and putting food on her plate. After a while, Junyao put down his chopsticks, looked at Zhao Hong beside him, and asked, "Son, what do you plan to do in the future?" "Me? I don't know." Zhao Hong shook his head. He had never thought about it before. After all, his studies weren't good before, and he only knew how to play games all day. How could he think about what to do in the future? But now things were different. After getting together with Mingran, he was determined to be responsible for her. Even though he had no ideas now, he had decided to work hard in the future and give Mingran a good life. Junyao placed his hand on Zhao Hong's back and said lightly, "I'll give you two choices. Either take over my position, or I'll give you a sum of money, and you can go out and make your own way." "Oh." Zhao Hong's eyes lit up. He looked up and said without hesitation, "Is there even need to think about it? Of course, I want to make my own way. How much money will you give me?" "That's up to you." Junyao shrugged, spread his hands, and replied lightly, "Really? I can have as much money as I want. But how much money you take determines how much you have to accomplish. Taking tens of millions to open an internet cafe or something, that definitely won't do." Tens of millions? Dad, what are you talking about? Does our family have that much money?" Zhao Hong's eyes widened, his face full of horror, a reaction of extreme shock. Hearing his father so casually mention tens of millions, it truly shocked him. Junyao let out a breath, didn't directly answer Zhao Hong's question, but asked softly, "What games do you usually like to play?" Zhao Hong was slightly taken aback, a bit confused why his father was asking this. "Me? What games do I like to play? Lots. For example, original Demon Heart Realm. Do you know the game Operator? I know, Junyao, right? Who doesn't know that? Many people who don't play games know it." Zhao Hong shrugged, blurting out the answer as if he had answered a particularly childish question. "What else do you like to play?" Courage Alliance? Also Junyao. Many games are distributed and developed by Junyao, right? What's wrong?" Smack. As soon as Zhao Hong finished speaking, a business card flew in front of him. Zhao Hong put down his chopsticks, frowned slightly, and slowly picked up the business card with a look of surprise, his gaze fixed on it. "Dongzhou City, Junyao Computer Systems Co., Ltd. Chairman, Junyao." After Zhao Hong muttered this, he immediately put down the business card, turned his head, and looked at Junyao with a serious expression, saying in the most standard Mandarin he had ever used in his life, "Dad, I've thought about it, and I think I should take over your position." "Ha ha ha." Zhao Hong's action made Lu Wei and Mingran, who were opposite him, burst out laughing simultaneously. Mingran covered her mouth, suppressing her laughter, while Lu Wei laughed so hard she was rocking back and forth. "Wait a minute." Zhao Hong suddenly realized something and shouted loudly. The other three looked at him in confusion, not knowing what was wrong with him. Smack! Zhao Hong slammed the table and said, word by word, "That is to say, I have been playing games distributed by my own family's company, and I even spent so much money on them. I gave my living expenses back. I actually didn't need to spend money." Lu Wei leaned back in her chair, folded her arms, pursed her lips, and said, "Every time I gave you living expenses, I told you not to spend money on games, but you wouldn't listen." "No, Zhao Hong was momentarily speechless, swallowing hard. Then he slowly sat down, looked at Lu Wei, and asked, "So, Mom, what do you do?" Lu Wei shook her head and handed a business card to Zhao Hong. Zhao Hong reached out, his hand trembling as he took it. "Huzhou City, Tianheng Electronic Technology Co., Ltd. No, you too. You've hidden this from me so well. No wonder you arranged for me to live on my own so early. I guess my family had a business and some money, but I never imagined this much money." Zhao Hong tossed the business card aside, frowned, tilted his head, his voice loud. He had always been a very emotionally stable person, but now it was as if he was about to explode. Junyao said calmly, "We were worried you'd develop an unhealthy attitude towards money, which wouldn't be conducive to your growth." "No, but you two are too good at acting, aren't you? Every time Mom came to give me living expenses, I couldn't tell it all. No expensive jewelry, no fancy car, just bringing warm clothes, snacks, and fruits. Who would have thought she was a big boss?" Lu Wei tilted her head, took a sharp breath, and said, "Was that acting? Isn't that what a mother should do? Then do you remember how you earnestly advised me to study hard, saying it so sincerely, talking about future prospects, future career, all that? Was it all an act? Did I not actually need to study hard at all? With so much money, what's there to worry about future prospect for?" Zhao Hong's voice grew softer and softer as he saw both his parents staring at him, their eyes cold. He pursed his lips, slowly sat down, and immediately became docile, not daring to speak. Junyao took a sip of water and said coldly, "Do you think your idea is right? You don't study hard, you just play games all day. You want me to let you take over my position? Am I crazy? What are you thinking? My idea was wrong. Zhao Hong lowered his head and shook it. To be honest, when you just started high school, I never actually thought about letting you take over my position. You disappointed me greatly. Fortunately, you came to your senses later, which is why I'm telling you this now. But now you say there's no need to study hard? Do you want me to let you squander the family fortune? Hearing his father's words, Zhao Hong finally understood why he had received that phone call during the new year. He had never called before, perhaps because he had no expectations for him. But after meeting Yin Mingran, he played games less, started studying hard, his grades improved significantly, his ranking skyrocketed, and so they regained hope in him. Understand. I misspoke. Zhao Hong nodded, admitting his mistake. He admitted that his previous thought was too foolish. He had just been thinking that with so much money and such a powerful company, he wouldn't have to worry about anything, wouldn't even need to pay for games. He could just alter the data. But he currently had no ability to take over his father's position. He had to learn many, many things, much more difficult than studying in high school. Junyao nodded, crossed his legs, and said, "Aren't you guys planning to take the Dongzhi University entrance exam? If you get in, then we'll talk further. I've already made arrangements. Someone will teach you all the knowledge you need. You have a lot to learn. Business administration, finance, marketing, computers, foreign languages, and so on. Of course, if you don't get in, then forget it. I'll give you a sum of money, and you can make your own way." Damn. Zhao Heng's mouth twitched. He could already imagine how tired he would be. He originally thought university would be easy, but he hadn't expected his high school to be the easy part. But he could not study either. If he wanted to inherit such a large enterprise, he definitely had to put in the corresponding effort. This was truly immense pressure for him. Yin Mingran listened quietly from the side. She was also very surprised, but she didn't show it. She couldn't believe that her family had such strength. Then, what about herself? "Sweetheart, what do you plan to do in the future?" At this moment, Lu Wei suddenly spoke, asking Yin Mingran beside her. Yin Mingran was slightly startled, blinked, and spaced out for a moment. I will definitely study hard, find a good job then, or help Zhao Hong share the pressure. I can do anything." She didn't know how to answer for a moment. What did she plan to do in the future? Of course, she could do anything. Before meeting Zhao Hong, she had planned to just drift through life, with no ambitions at all. But after meeting Zhao Hong, she just thought it would be good to do something for Zhao Hong. Even if it was serving Zhao Hong at home, doing laundry, cooking, anything was fine. Lu Wei nodded, smiled slightly, and whispered in Yin Mingran's ear, "Then, are you willing to take over my position?" Huh. This sentence stunned both Yin Mingran and Zhao Hong, their eyes wide open. Lu Wei hadn't planned to say it now, fearing it would put pressure on Yin Mingran. But seeing that Zhou Junyao had confessed to Zhao Hong, she decided to be direct with Yin Mingran as well, so they could work hard together. A moment later, the stunned Yin Mingran reacted and quickly shook her head. No. How could I? Why not? Shouldn't I let my daughter succeed me?" Yin Mingran clasped her hands together, nervously picking at them, and muttered, "But I'm not your biological." Lu Wei grabbed Yin Mingran's hand and said softly, "So what if there's no blood relationship? Does that mean you're not my daughter? In any case, you're my daughter-in-law, right? Why not?" But Yin Mingran still felt it was somewhat inappropriate. It wasn't that she had any particular thoughts, but she just felt that in terms of blood relations, she was ultimately an outsider. To let her inherit the family business, was that trusting her too much? At this moment, she felt this heavy love and pressure, no less than Zhao Heng's. "My dear, you are the most suitable person. Will you accept?" Yin Mingran looked up at Zhao Hong and Zhou Junyao opposite her, a troubled expression on her face. Zhao Hong and Zhou Junyao, however, nodded at her, as if expressing affirmation. This made Yin Mingran even more flattered. It was one thing for Zhao Hong to believe in her. After all, their feelings for each other were there. But Zhao Heng's father, this was their first meeting, and he trusted her so much? Such immense trust. How careful would she have to be not to disappoint it? "You have me." Just then, Zhao Hong slowly spoke, saying softly. This sentence stunned Yin Mingran. Then, she nodded gently, a hint of determination in her eyes. She then turned to Lu Wei and said seriously, "Mom, if you believe in me, I am willing to accept. I will also do my best not to disappoint you." That's right. Lu Wei's eyes were full of affection as she nodded in satisfaction. The atmosphere among the four of them clearly improved a lot. They finished dinner in a pleasant atmosphere, and then Zhao Hong and Yin Mingran were sent back. After all, they had to go home with their friends tomorrow and needed to rest early tonight. Zhao Hong and Min Gran got out of the car, said goodbye, and prepared to go back to the hotel. Just then, Junyao called out from the car. Remember what I said. Go back and discuss it properly. Huh? What is it? Zhao Hong turned his head, looking at Junyao in confusion, not knowing what he was referring to. Your marriage. If you can do it sooner, do it sooner. All right. After speaking, Junyao drove away, leaving a bewildered Zhao Hong and Min Gran. Marriage. Gran's heart was pounding like a drum. Just thinking about marrying Zhao Hong made her incredibly excited. In this lifetime, to be able to marry the person she loved most, it would be worth dying for. However, Zhao Hong was so outstanding, and his family was so influential, there must be many. Zhao Hong, Min Gran, you're back. Just as Min Gran was lost in thought, a voice came from ahead. Min Gran looked up and saw Yuling Shua. Oh, it's you. Before Min Gran could finish her sentence, her eyes suddenly widened, and countless images flashed through her mind. Words she had heard before kept popping up. Yuling Shua. Yuling Shua, that's my name. You can call me whatever you like, little Shua. Zhao Hong, be a little wary. After all, we don't know her well yet. I always feel she's very scheming. Tong Yining, I want to talk about that Yuling Shua. She's weird. Very weird. She looks like she's trying her best to get along with you, but I can tell her real target is Zhao Hong. Bite song. Yuling Shua, stop what you're doing. Young Master Zhao. Cough cough, mister. Zhao, I'm here to save you. Bite song. I'm here to save you. Zhao Junyao, you don't understand. If things aren't settled on your end, I have people bothering me every day. You came to propose marriage again these past 2 days. Scene after scene, word after word, surfaced in Gran's mind. She connected all of it. Yuling Shua, you? So that's how it was. That was what it was all about. Gran's face instantly darkened. She was expressionless, and her eyes held a hint of coldness. Yuling Shua, who had happily run over, noticed that something was wrong with Min Gran and slowly stopped. She stood in front of Min Gran, her hands awkwardly placed in front of her chest, and asked in a small voice, what's wrong? Was dinner unpleasant? Is Zhao Hong's father hard to get along with? She had actually been worrying about Min Gran in the hotel, worried if she would be bullied, if she was getting along well with Zhao Hong's family. But now, seeing Gran's state, it seemed a bit off. What if I didn't get along well? If dinner was unpleasant, would that make you happy? Min Gran suddenly blurted this out, stunning both Zhao Hong and Yuling Shua. Then, Min Gran said nothing more, glared at Yuling Shua, and directly took Zhao Hong's hand, walking into the hotel, leaving Yuling Shua standing alone, disheveled in the wind, wondering what was wrong with Min Gran. Did she say something wrong? Why was she suddenly acting like this toward her? She was fine before she left. After returning to the room, Min Gran directly pushed Zhao Hong to the bedside and closed the door. Zhao Hong sat down on the bed with a plop, looked up, and stared at Min Gran in bewilderment. What's wrong, baby? Why are you suddenly unhappy? Min Gran reached out, gently lifted Zhao Hong's chin, met his eyes, and slowly said, Darling, stay away from that Yuling Shua from now on. As far away as possible. It's best not to even speak a word to her. Okay. Although Zhao Hong didn't know the reason, he didn't ask much. He had no reason to refuse Min Gran's request. Though it was a bit inexplicable, he still agreed. After Min Gran finished speaking, she sat aside, pouting, arms crossed, looking glum. This made Zhao Hong even more bewildered. So what was going on? He hadn't done anything wrong, had he? But it was also possible he hadn't noticed. So, regardless of whether he was wrong or not, apologize first. Zhao Hong immediately moved his body, slowly scooting over to Min Gran's side, and said in a small voice, Don't be angry, I'm sorry. Min Gran was suddenly taken aback, her eyes widening abruptly. She looked at Zhao Hong and asked, Why are you apologizing? Aren't you angry with me? Of course not. How could I possibly be angry with you? Min Gran immediately hugged Zhao Hong's arm, her attitude instantly changing, becoming meek and docile. Zhao Hong couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. He hadn't expected Min Gran not to be angry with him. Then, was she angry with Yuling Shua? What? Then, that's because, before Zhao Hong could ask for the specific reason, they heard a knock on their room door. Knock knock. Zhao Hong, Min Gran, are you there? The two of them were stunned for a moment. The person at the door seemed to be Tang Ji, right? What was she doing here at this time? Although Zhao Hong didn't understand, Min Gran beside him seemed to have guessed the reason. She stood up and said to Zhao Hong, I'll go out and chat with her for a bit. I'll be back soon. Oh, okay. I'll go take a shower then. Zhao Hong nodded blankly, and then Min Gran walked out of the hotel room. Tang Ji stood at the door, wearing pajamas, looking as if she was about to sleep but had suddenly gotten up. Her expression was grave, and her slightly furrowed brows seemed to hide some worry. Min Gran closed the door, said nothing, and with a tacit understanding, left with Tang Ji. They went to the hotel stairwell, stood there, and looked at each other. Yuling Shua just came back and told me, did you hear something? Tang Ji had been playing games in her room when Yuling Shua returned and told her what had just happened. Since she wasn't sure what was going on, she could only ask Tang Ji for help. Tang Ji, however, had some idea and came to find Min Gran. Min Gran nodded and said bluntly, yes, I understand everything now. Yuling Shua's father knows Zhao Hong's father, right? They are colleagues. Yuling Shua knew about Zhao Hong before she transferred, right? The purpose of her transfer was to get close to Zhao Hong, right? Just because Zhao Hong is the heir. Tang Ji didn't expect Min Gran to know so much. She took a sharp breath, nodded slowly, and said, yes. You knew all along. Why didn't you tell me? Min Gran's brow furrowed slightly, her voice low, and her expression turned very ugly. She felt like a fool, knowing nothing, while her best friend knew but didn't tell her, hiding it from her. Tang Ji also knew she was in the wrong and had no ground to stand on. She lowered her head and said softly, I was afraid that if I told you, it would affect your relationship, affect your mood. I wanted to help you solve it myself. And did you solve it? Tang Ji was at a loss for words, not knowing what to say. Because this was the first time she had seen Min Gran in this state, it was too unfamiliar. Min Gran had always been kind, gentle, and very easy to get along with, but now this aura was somewhat intimidating. I pretty much solved it. She won't have any designs on Zhao Hong anymore. You're not even sure yourself, because you don't understand her character at all. You don't know her inside out. She came here with such a big goal. How could she give up so easily? Tang Ji suddenly remembered that Yuling Shua had been acting strangely when she came back yesterday, saying she had good news and absolutely couldn't tell her. That behavior was very suspicious. She had guessed for a long time, with many possible answers, but none could be confirmed. Could it be that she and her father still had some plan? Min Gran exhaled, looking quite angry. She turned her head and said in a low voice, if she can listen to her father and approach Zhao Hong, she will definitely resort to more means. Maybe everything she shows on the surface now is an act. No. She has come to her senses. Last time at the class reunion, Tang Ji blurted out, but halfway through, she realized that this kind of thing probably shouldn't be said. After Tang Ji closed her mouth, Min Gran became unwilling. Her brows furrowed tightly as she stared at Tang Ji and asked, what happened at the last class reunion? What happened to her? No, nothing. Min Gran suddenly took 2 steps forward, grabbed Tang Ji's shoulders, and said in a deep voice, what exactly happened to her? Tell me quickly. You're going to drive me crazy. Tang Ji bit her lip. She really didn't want to say it. After that incident, she had learned the whole story from Yuling Shua. Seeing that Tang Ji still wouldn't speak, Min Gran took 2 steps back, remained silent for a moment, and then said, do I have to kneel and beg you before you'll tell me? You've already hidden so much from me. No. Oh, TSK. Tang Ji looked bitter. It seemed Min Gran was determined to know. She had already hidden so much, which was already a great disservice to Min Gran. If she didn't tell her now, then the best friend she had finally made would probably be gone. It's just, last time she originally wanted to drug Zhao Hong and then take him to her room. But she had a change of heart and called you up. What did you say? Min Gran's face instantly froze, her eyes wide open, her mouth agape, unable to close. Tang Ji silently lowered her head, not daring to look at Min Gran's face. She had also hidden this matter from Min Gran for many days. Thinking about it now, she really wasn't a good friend. You mean, that day, she drugged Zhao Hong? Min Gran's legs suddenly went weak, and her body staggered a few steps back. Tang Ji was startled and immediately rushed forward to support her. Min Gran finally knew now why Zhao Hong had been like that day. Yet the next day, he seemed to hardly remember what happened the night before. So that was, he had been drugged. Min Gran, are you all right? Tang Ji asked with some concern. But Min Gran suddenly flung her arm, shaking Tang Ji's hand off. Tang Ji was pushed aside, stunned for a moment, looking blankly at Min Gran in front of her. Min Gran said nothing, her head lowered. Then she started walking and directly ran out. Hey, where are you going? Tang Ji quickly followed, but when she reached the elevator and frantically pressed the button, the elevator had already gone down. TSK. Tang, he didn't wait, turned around, and ran back to the stairs, preparing to run down. What's wrong? Yuling Shua had actually been waiting at her room door. Hearing the commotion outside, she opened the door, only to see Tang Ji run past her. What's going on? Yuling Shua didn't know what happened and immediately followed. In Min Gran ran out of the hotel. She didn't know where to go, but she definitely didn't want to stay nearby. She wanted to be alone for a while. She felt like she had been played, kept in the dark all along. She had even made her a gift personally, treated her as a good friend, invited her to her home for dinner, introduced her to other friends, traveled together. But in return, she had drugged her boyfriend. Her and Zhao Hong's most important night was actually. She couldn't accept all this. She wanted to escape now, to be alone for a while. Running, tears welled up in her eyes and streamed down her cheeks. Too much. In Min Gran arrived at a nearby park. She sat on a swing, head down, sobbing softly. Zhao Hong was worried about her and sent her message. At this moment, Zhao Hong still didn't know In Min Gran had run out. I'm fine. Tang Ji and I are just taking a walk outside. We'll be back soon. If you're sleepy, go to bed first. Love you. In Min Gran replied to Zhao Hong's message, then turned off her phone and sat there quietly. She was a person who valued relationships deeply. After losing her family affection, she cherished other emotions even more, such as friendship and love. She had already found the best love, and, at the same time, believed she had the best friendship. But she didn't expect that her sincerity wouldn't be reciprocated. At that time, after she broke off with the ill-behaved Tang Yining, she became good friends with Tang Ji, and then others, Zhu Tao, Yuling Shua, and so on. Due to distance, she and Zhu Tao couldn't play together often, so the weight of their friendship was certainly not as heavy as with others. As for Tang Ji, although In Min Gran knew she definitely had good intentions and wouldn't do anything to harm them, but she clearly knew how important Zhao Hong was in her heart. Why did she hide this matter from her? Why didn't she just tell her directly? Let her be vigilant and stay away from Yuling Shua. Wouldn't it have been fine? The result was that she treated a very threatening person as a friend, kept her by her side, and almost caused a disaster. Tang Ji not only hid it from her, but also spoke well of Yuling Shua, saying she had come to her senses. What did this mean? In Tang Ji's heart, was she less important than Yuling Shua? And she also found out about the drugging of her boyfriend. Even if Yuling Shua did call her over in the end, what about before she called? Did she do nothing? Even if she did nothing, who wouldn't let their imagination run wild? Now, with just a few words from her, saying she definitely wouldn't have any more ideas, who could completely believe it? She couldn't read her mind, so why should she believe her? In Min Gran sat on the swing for about 10 minutes. She felt it was time to go back, not to make Zhao Hong worry. She didn't want to go back just now because she was afraid of losing control of her emotions in the room, crying, and being seen by Zhao Hong, which wouldn't be good. She had also thought it through. Everyone has their own ideas, and it's impossible for everything to go according to her wishes. She felt she had valued friendship too much. In the future, maybe, she shouldn't care so much. Anyway, now she had love and family affection. Even if these two betrayed her now, she wouldn't be so sad because everything she had now was given by them. If she enjoyed it, she should be grateful and reciprocate. If she couldn't enjoy it, that was normal. Her mentality had long been adjusted. Friendship, maybe it's best to keep some distance for now. In Min Gran stood up, ready to go back. She hadn't even changed her clothes yet. But just as In Min Gran stood up, outside the park, in a dark corner, two men who had been squatting and smoking stood up, stamped out their cigarettes, and walked towards the inside of the park. After Yuling Shua followed them out of the hotel, Tang Ji told her what had happened. When she heard it, her heart almost jumped out of her chest. But she didn't have time to think much. The main thing now was to find In Min Gran quickly. It was so late, and her running out alone was really unsafe. Yuling Shua and Tang Ji split up to search for places In Min Gran might go. As Yuling Shua reached a corner, she suddenly heard a muffled groan. Her eyes widened, and she immediately ran out. What she saw shocked her. A dilapidated van was parked there. In Min Gran was tied up with ropes, her mouth covered with tape, and was being shoved into the van by two men. The moment Yuling Shua ran over, she made eye contact with In Min Gran for just a second before In Min Gran was forcefully pushed in. Before Yuling Shua could even cry out, she rushed towards them, but the van's door slammed shut, and it sped off. It all happened so suddenly, Yuling Shua had no time to react. She watched the van drive further and further away, realizing she couldn't catch up, and even if she did, it would be useless. It's over, it's over. Yuling Shua's face was ashen. In Min Gran had been kidnapped. She quickly took out her phone, wanting to call the police. Wait. Just then, she suddenly thought, if she called the police directly, it might be too late. Right now, the person she should call was. She quickly fumbled in her pocket, found a business card, and dialed the number on it. Hello. Hello. Andy Liu. This is Yuling Shua. In Min Gran. What happened to her? About 10 minutes later, the van had driven quite far. In Min Gran was in the back of the van, unable to move or make a sound. Only her eyes filled with terror. She was just about to leave when a van suddenly rushed out, blocking her path. Two men got out and kidnapped her without saying a word. The man in the passenger seat was on the phone, saying something to the other person. Yellow goods, one piece, have you made contact? At least 20, this one's definitely top quality. Tears welled up in In Mingran's eyes, threatening to spill. It seemed she had encountered human traffickers. She had seen on the news people sold by traffickers to mountainous areas, married off to old men, never to return. Woo-woo. In Min Gran silently called Zhao Hong's name, but couldn't say it out loud. Tears streamed down her cheeks. The thought of never seeing Zhao Hong again. Her heart was pierced with pain, unbearable. She had just found happiness not long ago. How could it disappear so suddenly? It was all her fault for suddenly running out. She was too willful. Should she have pretended not to know? Behave yourself. The man turned his head and shouted at In Min Gran in the back. Just then, the other man answered a call, his expression grave, his face turning green. Third brother, there's a situation. Huh? What's wrong? Just now. Fifth brother called, said all the city's police forces are out. All exits are blocked. We can't get out at all. What? The man's mind reeled, his eyes wide with terror, a look of extreme shock. He slowly turned his head, looked at In Min Gran in the back, and couldn't help feeling a little scared. Looks like we've kidnapped someone important. Now, what do we do? We definitely can't get out. What are you panicking for? Just change your thinking. Maybe she's a rich family's kid. Ask her for a phone number. Just demand money. Those rich people are afraid of accidents. Getting money is easy. That's right. We can get even more. It's more profitable than selling her directly. Go straight to the warehouse. The driver turned the van around and headed in another direction. In Min Gran heard their conversation. Had her kidnapping already been discovered? It seemed she had seen someone just before being forced into the van. It looked like Yuling Shua. Wait, if it was Yuling Shua, would she call the police? Would she tell others about this? If she was taken away by human traffickers, it would be very difficult to come back. She would never see Zhao Hong again. Then Yuling Shua wouldn't have a chance. But now, she was so scared that she was pinning her hopes on Yuling Shua. Yuling Shua, please, could she call the police? Hopefully, it wouldn't be as she imagined. The van weaved through the streets and finally entered an old residential area. Deep inside, there was a dilapidated warehouse next to a garbage dump. Almost no one passed by. Get out. The two men dragged In Min Gran out of the van, preparing to take her into the warehouse first. After confirming it was safe, they would ask her for her family's phone number. Beep. Just then, a piercing car horn sounded. They froze in place. The moment they looked up, the bright headlights of a car instantly blinded them. In Min Gran didn't know what was happening. She could only struggle, trying her best to make a sound. MMPH. 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 Screech. The car drifted to a sharp stop, parking perfectly in front of them. Clear brake marks were left on the ground. The two men were startled and took a step back. Only after the car came to a steady stop did they realize it wasn't a police car. Who was it? They couldn't see inside through the tinted windows. One man leaned in, trying to see who was in the car. Just then, the car door opened, and the next second, bang! Someone inside kicked the door, and it flew open. Clang! The man was hit in the face by the car door, screamed, and instantly fell backward, landing on the ground, clutching his face and yelling. In Min Gran saw the person getting out of the car, her eyes slowly widening, a light seeming to bloom in them. MMPH, 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 MMPH. She began to struggle excitedly. She hadn't expected the person in the car to be Zhao Hong. Zhao Hong got out of the car, seeing In Min Gran tied up before him. His steps were heavy and forceful, each one seeming to leave an imprint of anger on the ground. His aura made the surrounding air tense. Who are you? Don't come over. The man, looking at the strong Zhao Hong before him, tried to reach for the switchblade at his waist. But before he could take it out, Zhao Hong seemed to teleport, taking a large step that instantly closed the distance between them. The next second, he reached out, grabbed the man's neck, and slammed him to the ground. Cough, cough. The man's hands were pinned by Zhao Hong's knee, unable to move. Zhao Hong's grip on his neck tightened, making it hard for him to breathe. The other man, who had been knocked down by the car door, was now bleeding from his nose, but he still stood up, preparing to sneak attack Zhao Hong from behind. He took out a small knife, glared viciously at Zhao Hong, and walked towards him step by step. MMPH. Yin Min ran, strained to make a sound. She stood behind Zhao Hong, trying to shield him. Just then, the driver's side door of the car opened, and a figure got out. With a flying kick, they struck the man, sending him tumbling to the ground. Then, they quickly subdued him and snatched the knife from his hand. Yin Min Gran recognized the familiar face. It was Tang Ji. The driver of the van saw this scene and was about to get out to help them, but the approaching sound of police sirens made him panic. He wanted to leave, but it was too late. Police cars had already surrounded the area, blocking his escape route. The police arrived at the scene. By this time, the man under Zhao Hong had already been choked unconscious. If the police hadn't pulled Zhao Hong away in time, the out-of-control Zhao Hong would have really choked him to death. The ropes on Yin Min Gran were untied, and the tape on her mouth was torn off. The next second, she couldn't help but squat down and cry. She thought she would never see Zhao Hong again in this lifetime. This feeling of surviving a disaster made her both happy and a little scared. Zhao Hong walked over step by step. He looked down at Yin Min Gran, at the red marks on her arms and wrists. There were also scrapes on her legs. He slowly squatted down, reached out, and put his arm around Yin Min Gran's shoulder, saying softly, it's okay now. Yin Min Gran looked up and burrowed into Zhao Hong's embrace, whispering, how did you find? Because you lied. Tang Ji clearly wasn't with you. Then, I followed you out immediately. What man would let the woman he loves be out alone? Zhao Hong hugged Yin Min Gran tightly, giving her a full sense of security, and explained, Yuling Shua called my mom, then told Tang Ji. Tang Ji borrowed a car from the hotel staff, drove me out immediately, figured out the route from the map, saw you halfway, and then followed you all the way here. Yuling Shua. Yin Min Gran blinked, muttering her name. She had indeed seen correctly. The person she saw before getting into the van was Yuling Shua. She actually helped her, didn't pretend not to see. Tang Ji stood not far away, looking at Yin Min Gran, her head slightly bowed, her expression full of guilt. She didn't even dare to meet Yin Min Gran's eyes. She blamed herself for all of this. If she hadn't hidden it from Yin Min Gran, if she could have stopped Yin Min Gran from going out, it all seemed to be her fault. She had hardly ever made a mistake in her life, but this time, it was the most serious one. She could already foresee what would happen next. Anyway, she probably couldn't be friends with Yin Min Gran anymore. At the same time, she would definitely have to distance herself from Zhao Hong. They probably wouldn't contact each other anymore, until they completely cut ties. This was all her own doing. She couldn't blame anyone else. Who let her have selfish intentions from the beginning? Tang Ji turned around, wanting to leave quietly. Staying here would definitely be awkward. But as she turned to leave, Yin Min Gran behind her suddenly called out, Tang, wait. Tang Ji paused, turning her head to look at Yin Min Gran, her gaze still somewhat evasive. She didn't even dare to carefully listen to what Yin Min Gran was about to say. Perhaps it would be some harsh words, telling her to stay away in the future. Don't be fooled by her usual carefree demeanor, but she truly cherished her friendship with Yin Min Gran. Apart from Zhao Hong, the first good friend she made was Yin Min Gran. Her appearance at that time was like a ray of hope in her life, making her realize how happy it was to have a good friend. But now, it seemed she hadn't cherished it well and had hurt her. Tang Ji lowered her head, her hands clasped in front of her, looking very uneasy, as if prepared to be scolded, ready to accept Yin Min Gran's reprimands in anger. With Zhao Hong's support, Yin Min Gran slowly stood up and then walked step by step towards Tang Ji. Zhao Hong didn't dare to say anything. He didn't know what Yin Min Gran was going to do. It was the first time he had seen Tang Ji so flustered and uneasy. Yin Min Gran came to stand in front of Tang Ji. The next second, a scene that shocked both of them occurred. Yin Min Gran suddenly bowed low to Tang Ji and said, I'm sorry, I was too willful. Can you forgive me? Tang Ji and Zhao Hong both widened their eyes, their faces filled with disbelief. She was already prepared to be scolded by Yin Min Gran. How did it turn into the other party apologizing? Oh no, why are you apologizing? It was clearly my fault. Why are you apologizing? Tang Ji quickly helped Yin Min Gran up. She couldn't bear such an apology. It made her feel even more sorry for Yin Min Gran. No, I've thought about it. You weren't wrong. I was willful. I'm sorry. Yin Min Gran knew why she had lost control. It was because it involved Zhao Hong, threatening their relationship. In her eyes, nothing was more important than her relationship with Zhao Hong. Anything that threatened their relationship made her more vigilant than a threat to her own life. But after calming down and thinking about it, she had indeed gone a bit too far. At least because of her willfulness, she had caused trouble for everyone. Don't say that. Tangji didn't know what to say anymore. She really hadn't expected Min Gran not only not to blame her, but to attribute her own mistakes to herself. How could she accept this? Min Gran gently took Tang Ji's hand and whispered, don't be angry with me, forgive me, and continue to be good friends with me, okay? You. Tang Ji's mouth fell open, her wide eyes filled with disbelief. Then she felt a sting in her nose and quickly turned her head away. Hey, are you crying? Zhao Hong raised an eyebrow from the side, asking curiously. I am not, Tang Ji retorted loudly, but her voice was somewhat muffled. Ahem. Just then a police officer walked over holding a pen and notebook and said, Please cooperate. Move aside, move aside. Before the police officer could finish, another older police officer came from behind and pushed him aside. Zhao Hong saw his epaulets and couldn't help but frown slightly. This rank seemed to be. The police officer who was pushed aside immediately stood straight and saluted Chief Hong. The police officer called Chief Hong looked Zhao Hong up and down and asked, You're President Liu's son? Zhao Hong nodded and replied, Yes, I am. Then he looked at Min Gran beside him, pointed at her, and asked, This is President Liu's daughter-in-law, right? I. Min Gran was slightly taken aback. Just like that, she became the daughter-in-law? Yes. Before Min Gran could answer, Zhao Hong nodded and replied. A faint blush immediately appeared on Min Gran's face. She leaned against Zhao Hong, looking shy. Are you all right? If anything's wrong, I'll send you to the hospital right away. No, I'm fine. No need to trouble you. It's good that you're fine. President Liu suddenly called me, saying her daughter-in-law was kidnapped. That scared me, huh? Chief Hong stood with his hands behind his back and chuckled lightly. Chief Hong. Just then, they heard a familiar voice. Zhao Hong and Min Gran recognized it as their mother, Lu Wei's voice. Not far away, Lu Wei got out of her car and walked over with a commanding presence. The police officers around them all made way. Chief Hong saw Lu Wei and gestured with his hand. President Liu, long time no see. Chief Hong, you're too kind. We're friends, just call me Lu Wei. The two shook hands and exchanged pleasantries. Sorry to trouble you so late at night. I'm really embarrassed. Not all. With my relationship with you and your President Zhou, there's no need for such formalities. This is my nephew, isn't he? If my nephew's wife is in trouble, how could I stand by and do nothing? Chief Hong laughed heartily and patted Zhao Heng's shoulder. All right, as long as everything's fine. You guys go back and rest early. I heard you're here to have fun, right? Zhao Heng nodded and said, Yes, we are. I'll definitely keep a close eye on public safety from now on. Nephew, if you come to Huzhou to play again, just look for your Uncle Hong if you need anything. Okay. Thank you, Uncle Hong. Afterward, the police officers all left one by one, taking all the culprits away. Tang Ji drove back to the hotel by herself. Lu Wei took Zhao Hong and Min Gran, sending them back. On the way, she repeatedly asked Min Gran if she was really okay, whether she needed to go to the hospital, and kept inviting Zhao Hong and Min Gran to stay at her place. However, the two of them declined. They still planned to go back to the hotel first, especially Min Gran. She wanted to go back now, to find someone, and that was Yuling Shua. After Lu Wei dropped them off, she even arranged for people to guard outside the hotel, showing how worried she was. This time, they were found in time and rescued. If something like this happened again next time, it might not be so timely. If she were to be abducted then, she would want to turn the whole world upside down to find her. After Zhao Hong and Min Gran went upstairs, they saw Tang Ji rushing out of her room. Min Gran asked with some confusion, What's wrong? Tang Ji pointed to the room and said, Yuling Shua seems to be gone. Her luggage is all gone. Huh? Min Gran was suddenly startled. She quickly bypassed Tang Ji and looked in her room. It was indeed empty. Why would she suddenly leave? What? Zhao Hong was also confused. Tonight, he seemed to know nothing. Min Gran got angry for no reason, then ran out for no reason, then got into danger, and now Yuling Shua left for no reason. All of this happened so fast that he felt like he had missed several episodes of a drama. She asked me what exactly happened. I was anxious at the time, so I told her everything. Tang Ji remembered that Yuling Shua had asked her what was going on, and she hadn't thought much before telling her. She hadn't expected her to leave directly. But thinking about it, it was true. If it were her, she might have left directly too. Min Gran couldn't help but be stunned. She hadn't said anything to Yuling Shua yet. Why did she leave directly? Yuling Gran took out her phone, glanced at it, and found that Yuling Shua had already left the group chat and deleted her as a friend. Tang Ji took a look and found it was the same. It was as if she had completely disappeared from their world. Yuling Gran looked up, and she, Zhao Hong, and Tang Ji looked at each other, somewhat at a loss. After a while, Zhao Hong slowly spoke. Let's go back and rest first. We'll talk about it tomorrow. At this point, they could only rest first. They couldn't find Yuling Shua. Tonight, because of Imengran's incident, the whole city was on alert. So even if Yuling Shua was outside, she should be safe. The group returned to their rooms, tidied up, and prepared to sleep. Imengran lay in bed, her eyes unable to close. After all, what happened tonight was too thrilling. It was impossible for her to sleep peacefully now. Zhao Hong held her in his arms and comforted her for a long time before she fell asleep. The next morning, everyone got up early, packed their things, and prepared to go home. Liao Haomiao, Zhu Tao, and Shinlini had no idea what had happened. When everyone gathered, they even asked where Yuling Shua had gone. Tang Ji could only say that she had left early due to some urgent matter and didn't mention what happened last night. The group boarded the high-speed train back home and arrived around noon. Since last night, Lu Wei would message Imengran from time to time, asking what she was doing, as if she was particularly worried. Imengran also replied patiently, reporting her safety to Lu Wei every once in a while. Zhao Hong and Imengran returned home, carrying their luggage upstairs. When they reached their doorstep, they found a strange man standing at Yuling Shua's door. Zhao Hong and Imengran exchanged a glance. Imengran slowly walked over and tentatively asked, "Hello, may I ask who you are?" I'm a landlord here. What's wrong?" The man glanced at Imengran and pointed to Yuling Shua's home in front. "Landlord, may I ask what happened here?" "Nothing, just the tenant terminated the lease. I came to take a look." "Terminated the lease?" A flash of surprise crossed Imengran's eyes. She immediately looked into Yuling Shua's home and found it was already empty, with only bare furniture. Damn, what's going on? What happened to her? Why did she suddenly disappear? Zhao Hong walked over, took a look, and exclaimed. He still didn't know what had happened. What was wrong with Yuling Shua? Zhao Hong and Imengran returned to their own home. As soon as they opened the door, they found a letter on the floor by their doorstep, seemingly slipped under the door. Imengran quickly realized that this must have been left by Yuling Shua. She immediately bent down and picked up the letter. She opened the letter, glanced at it, and found that it was indeed from Yuling Shua. It contained only a short sentence. "Thank you so much for treating me as a friend. You too must be happy." Below was a hand-drawn smiley face. Seeing this, Imengran felt very uncomfortable. She knew Yuling Shua's intention. She didn't know how to prove she was harmless, so she made herself completely disappear to prove it. Now, even if Imengran didn't believe it, she had to. To be honest, if it weren't for Yuling Shua last night, she would have been harmed long ago. Her life was in Yuling Shua's hands last night. At that time, she was the only witness. If she had pretended not to know, then she would have been done for. But she didn't do that. She immediately told her mother, told Tang Ji. It could be said that Yuling Shua saved her life. And now, to prove herself, she chose to disappear from their world. Such an action also proved her heart to Imengran. This made Imengran feel particularly bad, as if she was very mean. Why am I getting more and more confused? What happened to her? Did she suddenly get cancer? Zhao Hong looked at the letter left by Yuling Shua, completely bewildered, really unable to understand the situation. Imengran took a deep breath, folded the letter in her hand, put it in her pocket, and looked straight ahead. "What's wrong, baby?" Zhao Hong put his hand on Imengran's shoulder, feeling that she was a bit strange. Imengran paused for a moment, then said, "Baby, do you have that by Tsang's contact? The person who knew Yuling Shua before." I do. Why?" "Then please ask him where Yuling Shua's home is, or where she might go." At this moment, in a village far from the city, a bus drove up and stopped in front of a large courtyard. Yuling Shua got off the bus, carrying 2 large suitcases and a backpack, which left her sweating profusely and panting. She looked at the large courtyard in front of her. In the courtyard, there was a lounge chair with an old man lying on it, and an old woman sitting next to him, seemingly knitting something. When Yuling Shua saw them, a smile blossomed on her face, and she shouted towards the inside, "Grandpa, Grandma, I've come to see you." The old man and old woman heard the voice, immediately looked up towards the gate. When they saw Yuling Shua standing outside the gate, they were stunned for a few seconds. Then the old man sat up directly from the lounge chair, and the old woman even threw what she was holding onto the ground. "Oh my, little Shua is here. Quick, quick, come in, come in." "Old man, Go help little Shua with her things. Ha ha, our granddaughter is here. That's great. The two old people were overjoyed. Even though their legs were somewhat inconvenient, they quickly walked towards the gate. Yuling Shua put down her luggage and quickly went up to them. Oh, slow down. Why are you in such a hurry? I'm here this time. I should be staying for a long time. Grandpa helped Yuling Shua with her luggage, looked back outside the courtyard, and asked in surprise, "Where's your father? Did you come alone?" Yuling Shua scratched her head awkwardly and said in a small voice, yes, I came by myself. What nonsense! How could he let you come alone? It's so unsafe for you to be alone and carrying so many things. If he's not coming himself, why didn't he find someone to bring you? I'll call him." Grandma frowned in anger and was about to rush into the house to make a call. Yuling Shua's eyes widened, and she quickly stepped forward to stop her grandmother. Hey, Grandma, forget it. Dad is so busy, and I came here this time without telling him, secretly. If you can keep it a secret for me, I can stay here for quite a long time. Seeing that Yuling Shua had said so, Grandma didn't insist further, sighed, and muttered, "Oh dear, really? What's there to be busy about all day long? All right, let's hurry inside. Have you eaten yet?" We've eaten. You haven't eaten yet, right? Grandma will make you some noodles, okay? Okay, I'm actually a bit hungry. It's been so long since I had her to Lu Mian noodles. All right, come inside and sit down. Grandma will go make it for you. Grandma happily went into the house, and Yuling Shua followed closely with her luggage. The inside of the house was still the same, just as it was the last time she came. Although it looked very old, everything was very clean, without any dust. Grandpa, you and Grandma should just go live in the city. Dad bought you a house long ago. You won't have to worry about food, clothing, housing, or transportation, and I can visit you often. Grandpa sat on the Kong bed, fanning himself, waved his hand, and said, Not going anywhere. I've lived in this old house for over 40 years. I can't sleep in other places. You always say that. There's no one here to take care of you." Yuling Shua looked up at this old house. It had been renovated many times and was the most luxurious one in the entire village, with solar panels, a large courtyard, and 3 stories, looking like a small villa. The two old folks consistently refused to move out and also refused to hire anyone to take care of them. When Yuling Shua was young, she really didn't understand. Wouldn't it be great to live in a big house in the city? But now, Yuling Shua actually yearned for such a life. She really wanted to live such a life. Away from the hustle and bustle of the city, away from workplace disputes slowing down the pace of life, it would be very comfortable. Yuling Shua sat on the Kong bed, looking at a photo on the TV cabinet. It had yellowed, but it was relatively well preserved. She looked at it from afar. The photo was a family portrait. The middle-aged people standing at the back were her grandparents, smiling very happily. The man and woman in front were her parents. The child her parents were holding was her. This should be the last family portrait they ever took. Noodles are here. After a while, Grandma came in from the kitchen, carrying a bowl of noodles. She placed a small table on the Kong bed for Yuling Shua, put the noodles on it, and also poured a glass of water. Delicious. Yuling Shua praised from the bottom of her heart. It had been so long since she had tasted this flavor. She missed it so much. While she was eating, her grandparents just watched her with a smile, looking very happy. Soon, Yuling Shua finished the whole bowl of noodles. Only then did her mood improve a lot. Until just now, her heart had been very heavy. At this point, she didn't know what to do. She had come to her grandparents' place secretly, without telling her father. She originally planned to apply to Dongju University, just like Zhao Hong and Yi Minggran, but now, she definitely couldn't go. If she directly applied to another university, her father would surely be furious, and the consequences would be unimaginable. Little Shua, see when you could go visit your mother. She often calls, asking us about you. She misses you very much too. Mom. Hearing her grandmother's words, Yuling Shua couldn't help but lower her head, as if lost in thought. After a while, Yuling Shua nodded and said, I'll go tomorrow. Okay, then you rest well. We're going to the fields to do some work. Grandpa and Grandma said as they were about to pack up and go out. At this moment, Yuling Shua also stood up and quickly said, I'll go too. The two old folks paused, turned to look at her, and said, Oh dear, what are you going for? It's tiring and sunny. You just rest well in the house, okay? Be good. I'm just sitting around anyway, it's fine. I'll go too, just for fun. Yuling Shua didn't care at all, picked up the old, dirty tools, and prepared to go work with her grandparents. Grandpa and Grandma couldn't persuade her, so they took her along. This whole afternoon, Yuling Shua worked hard, just so her grandparents could do a little less. But this also exhausted her. Even though her stamina was quite good, Doing farm work for an afternoon was incredibly tiring. By the time they got home, it was already evening. The entire western sky was ablaze with the setting sun. Yuling Shua wore a straw hat, slippers, her feet were dirty, a towel hung around her neck for wiping sweat, and she carried a hoe on her shoulder. This image was a stark contrast to her appearance in the morning. Perhaps an acquaintance standing in front of her wouldn't be able to recognize her at first glance. Sigh, I'm exhausted, but it's good. I can sleep well tonight. Yuling Shua couldn't help but sigh. She was just about to turn the corner and reach home, but as she reached the corner, she suddenly heard voices, seemingly from her doorstep. Are you sure this is the place? Yes, absolutely. This is Yuling Shua's grandparents' home. I've investigated. The main gate is locked. Is no one home? Bite Song, why don't you call her and ask? Hearing these voices, Yuling Shua's eyes instantly widened, her mouth agape. The hoe she was carrying on her shoulder even fell to the ground. These voices, weren't they Zhao Hong, Min Gran, and the others? Why were they here? Did Bite Song bring them? What were they doing here? At this moment, outside the main gate, Zhao Hong, Min Gran, Tang Ji, and Bite Song stood there. They heard a sound from the corner just now and couldn't help but look up in surprise. Let's go, little Shua. What are you standing here for? Her grandparents behind her saw Yuling Shua standing still and were a bit puzzled. Just as they were about to walk out, Yuling Shua quickly stopped them. Wait, Grandpa, Grandma, wait a moment, there's a situation. Situation? What's wrong? Yuling Shua's grandparents were a bit confused, not knowing what was suddenly wrong with her. Grandpa, Grandma, when you go out later, if you see those people at the door and they're looking for me, just say, you don't know me. Huh? Her grandparents were stunned for a moment, clearly not understanding what Yuling Shua meant. They peeked out and indeed saw a few people standing at their gate, all young kids. Those people, do you know them? Are they your friends? I know them, but not friends. Yuling Shua hesitated for a moment, then silently shook her head. If it were before, she could have said without hesitation that she was their friend, but now, better not. Not friends? Then I'll chase them away. Grandpa was about to rush out with the hoe in his hand. Yuling Shua immediately reached out to stop him, but when she looked up again, she found the four of them already standing in front of her. Yuling Shua slowly looked up, her mouth twitching, her face etched with embarrassment. She opened her mouth, her gaze fixed, unable to utter a single word for a long time. And those four were even more surprised, rendered speechless. They looked at Yuling Shua, now in dirty clothes, also looking grimy, and didn't know what had happened to her. Yuling Shua, what happened to you? Min Gran blinked, looking Yuling Shua up and down, completely bewildered. Yesterday, she was a sophisticated young lady. How did she, in just one day, transform into a hard-working rural girl? Who are you all? What are you looking for our little Shua for? Grandpa and Grandma immediately stood in front of Yuling Shua, looking very imposing. Zhao Hong immediately pulled Min Gran into his arms and took a step back, looking a bit scared. He wasn't afraid of thugs or robbers, but he was quite afraid of old men and women. You couldn't scold them, couldn't touch them, there was really nothing you could do. Min Gran, however, wasn't afraid. She stepped out from Zhao Heng's embrace, stood before Yuling Shua's grandparents, and said seriously, we are her friends. Friday. Friends. Yuling Shua was truly taken aback, blinking, a look of disbelief on her face. She hadn't expected Min Gran to still consider her friend. Min Gran reached out and pointed to Yuling Shua's trouser pocket. Yuling Shua looked down at her pocket. Her phone was inside, and a doll keychain was hanging outside. It was the one Min Gran had given her. Yes, Grandpa, Grandma, they're my friends. Yuling Shua nodded and said softly, friends, you should have said so earlier. Then why did you just say, all right, since you're all little Shua's friends, come on, come inside. Her grandparents put down their farm tools, smiled, and beckoned them into the house. Their hands were still full of gift boxes. After all, they were visiting, so they definitely had to bring something. The group followed them into the house. Yuling Shua first poured them water, then quickly went to freshen up. After all, she was too dirty, needed to wash up, and change her clothes. While Yuling Shua was freshening up, her grandparents sat on the Kong bed, looked at Zhao Hong and the others, and asked, you guys are quite close with little Shua, huh? Quite close. The group answered somewhat guiltily, especially by Song, who seemed to be saying it through gritted teeth. Indeed, our little Shua is such a good child. She's been kind and soft-hearted since she was little. Bai Song muttered from the side, she hits pretty hard too. Just as he finished, Tang Ji jabbed him in the ribs with her elbow, making his eyes bulge. He forgot there was someone beside him who hit even harder. After a while, Yuling Shua returned, changed into clean clothes. When she walked into the room, she looked somewhat reserved. She had been thinking while showering why Min Gran and the others had come, and how she should face them later. She had already hidden here, yet they still managed to find her. After Yuling Shua entered, her grandparents stood up and said, "All right, you guys have fun. We'll go make dinner for you. You're all eating here tonight, okay?" "Ahem. I'll go help." "Me too." Zhao Hong and Tang Ji were the first to stand up, preparing to follow them out. Tang Ji also gave Bai Tsang a look. Bai Tsang immediately understood and stood up. I'll go too." In an instant, only Min Gran and Yuling Shua were left in a room. Yuling Shua awkwardly lowered her head, not daring to look Min Gran in the eye. She didn't know why they had been left alone. After a while, Min Gran slowly spoke. Yuling Shua. I'm here." Yuling Shua immediately looked up and answered. Min Gran felt a bit heartbroken. Yuling Shua had been turned into an AI. She answered when called. Firstly, I want to thank you. Thank you for saving me. If it weren't for you, I would definitely have met with misfortune by now. You are my lifesaver." Yuling Shua was stunned for a moment, then quickly raised her hand and waved it, saying, No. I didn't do anything. I just did what I should have done. How can that be considered your lifesaver?" "But you could have chosen not to see, right? You still told my mom immediately, didn't you?" That's for sure. How could I pretend not to see? You are my friend." Yuling Shua lowered her head, the last word ultimately unspoken, because she felt she wasn't qualified to say it. Who would drug a friend's boyfriend? She had bad intentions back then. Wrong was wrong. There was no explanation. Secondly, I want to apologize to you. I'm sorry. You? Why are you apologizing? You didn't do anything wrong. Yuling Shua stood up and said somewhat excitedly. Min Gran gently shook her head, then reached out and took Yuling Shua's hand, making her slowly sit down. You think it's your fault, but you were just following your father's orders. After that, you didn't make any big mistakes and even stopped in time. That's enough. But I, on the other hand, didn't trust you, suspected you, questioned your character. I think I was wrong. Yuling Shua's lips quivered, her nose stung, and tears welled up in her eyes, streaming down uncontrollably. I had already decided to disappear from your world. Why? Why are you saying these things? So, can you forgive me? I was impulsive too, and I've already suffered the consequences. I still cherish you as a friend. Give me another chance, okay? Min Gran spoke very seriously, tightly holding Yuling Shua's hand, her eyes exceptionally sincere. This made Yuling Shua even less able to hold back. Tears streamed from her unblinking eyes, unstoppable. Don't say that. It makes me feel even worse. Yuling Shua truly couldn't believe Min Gran would say such things. Her heart was actually very fragile. She had always been encouraging and comforting herself, which had only put a thin, protective film over her heart. But Min Gran's words had undoubtedly shattered her protection easily, revealing her vulnerable inner self. Min Gran was about to say something more, but when she looked up, she found 3 heads peeking in from outside the door. After being discovered by Min Gran, those 3 heads immediately retracted. Don't hide, come in and say something. Min Gran stood up, beckoning the people outside the door. Yuling Shua was stunned, turned her head to look behind her, and saw Zhao Hong and the other 2 walking in from outside the door, looking embarrassed. They had wanted to eavesdrop outside, but they were discovered. Now it was awkward. You guys. But what was even more awkward was Yuling Shua. She reached out, trying to wipe away the tears on her face. It was so embarrassing to be seen crying by so many people. She didn't even know how many times she had cried. Zhou Heng's mother had seen her cry. Tang Ji and Bai Tsang had seen her cry, and now all these people had seen her. Thinking about it, she really was a crybaby. Her personality was a bit too weak. Tang Ji walked over, gently put her arm around Yuling Shua's shoulder, and said, "It's not all your fault. We all made mistakes. But there aren't that many rights and wrongs to speak of. Since nothing too serious has happened now, let's not dwell on the past too much. Let's be good from now on, keep it in mind, and slowly make up for it." Bai Tsang also leaned against the wall, arms crossed, nodded, and said, "Yeah, I consider you a competitor, which proves I acknowledge your abilities. But now you want to farm in the countryside? Are you that spineless? Whether you can be worthy of others is one thing, but you're already unworthy of yourself." Zhou Heng took a deep breath and said softly, "Although I have no idea what exactly happened, I think they're all right." Zhou Heng was probably the most confused one here, completely unaware of what they were talking about. It sounded like it was Yuling Shua's fault. Then listening further, Min Gran was also at fault? Tang Ji had a part in it too? This made Zhao Hong suspect if he himself was somewhat at fault too. Inexplicably, every time he wanted to ask for clarification, he was fobbed off, and they wouldn't tell him anything. Thank you. Yuling Shua cried like a mess, but she could feel the intentions of the people around her. They were all doing it for her. If she really stayed here, then she would truly be in the wrong. Inmin Gran took some tissues, wiped Yuling Shua's tears, and comforted her. All right, stop crying. Come back with us, okay? Please? Summer vacation isn't over yet. We still have to play together, and we still have to take the Dongji University entrance exam together, don't we? Okay. Yuling Shua, her voice choked with tears, nodded gently, and whispered her agreement. Hearing Yuling Shua agree, everyone finally smiled. They sat together, continuing to comfort her softly until her tears stopped and she was no longer sobbing. Otherwise, if her grandparents came in later and saw her crying, they might misunderstand that they were bullying Yuling Shua, and that would be disastrous. After a long while, Yuling Shua's grandparents made dinner, all homestyle dishes. They invited Zhao Hong and the others to eat dinner together. Although Yuling Shua really wanted them to eat together, when she thought about the dishes they were eating, they weren't exactly presentable. To serve Zhao Hong and the others these was a bit inappropriate. However, Zhao Hong and the others didn't mind at all. As soon as her grandparents invited them, they readily agreed, because none of them had experienced rural life. On a summer evening, with a cool breeze blowing outside, setting up a table in the courtyard, a group of people eating around the table, it felt particularly pleasant. Come, child, I'll serve you rice. Want it with cold water? It's cooling to eat. With water? Sure, I'll try. It was Zhao Heng's first time eating like this. He was quite curious to try. Child, eat green onions dipped in this sauce. It's delicious, homemade. Oh, okay. Yuling Shua was still quite embarrassed. Not long ago, she was hosting classmates at her family's grand hotel, and now she was treating distinguished guests to home-style dishes in a rural courtyard. The contrast was too great. The key was that Zhao Hong, Inmin Gran, and the others actually accepted it and seemed to be enjoying it quite happily. Hey, baby, use this to wrap the scallions. Dip it in sauce, it's delicious. This eggplant is delicious, so soft. Only Yuling Shua was feeling awkward there. Everyone else seemed to be enjoying the feeling, not feeling uncomfortable at all. Her grandparents smiled, so much their eyes crinkled into slits, and said, Little Shua's friends are so nice. Each one looks like a big star. So handsome. You guys don't leave tonight, okay? Stay here. I'll tidy up that room for you. Grandma, how can they stay here? Yuling Shua muttered in a small voice. Normally, it would be appropriate to ask them to stay, but this was ultimately a rural house. They slept on a kong, not a bed. Even if the room was tidied up, would they be willing to stay? Inmin Gran turned to look at Zhao Hong. Zhao Hong was still eating food dipped in sauce. Seeing Inmin Gran look at him, he immediately understood what she meant, nodded, and agreed. Inmin Gran smiled slightly, then looked at her grandparents and said, Then we won't be polite, Grandpa, Grandma. We actually want to spend time with Yuling Shua, and then we can all go back together. Hey, good child. Yuling Shua hadn't expected Inmin Gran to actually agree to this. Were they really going to stay here? She knew very well what kind of status Zhao Hong and Inmin Gran had. They were both going to be incredible figures in the future. Was it really appropriate to host them like this? Grandpa rolled a cigarette, lit it, took a drag, pointed outside, and said, There's dancing at the square over there tonight. It's quite lively. You guys can go play there later if you're free. Zhao Hong and Inmin Gran's eyes lit up, and they nodded. Okay. After dinner, the group went to the square to play. It was indeed quite lively at night, with people square dancing, playing basketball, and strolling around. There were many people. Zhao Hong and Tang Ji even played basketball with the village kids for a while. If it weren't for the increasing number of mosquitoes towards the end, signaling it was time to go back, they could have continued playing. At night, Grandpa and Grandma tidied up 2 rooms. Zhao Hong initially wanted to sleep with Inmin Gran, but on second thought, it would make it difficult to accommodate everyone else. So, he decided to have Inmin Gran sleep with Yuling Shua and Tang Ji, the 3 girls together, while he would stay with Baitsong. Everyone agreed with this decision at first, but after a while, Yuling Shua had a second thought. Something didn't seem right. Yuling Shua leaned closer to Tang Ji and whispered in her ear, Baitsong, staying with Zhao Hong, will that be okay? What will be okay? Oh, you mean that? What's there to fear? What could Baitsong possibly dare to do? Zhao Hong could beat him to death. Tang Ji didn't react at first, only realizing after a moment what Yuling Shua meant. She was talking about Baitsong's preferences. Male prefers males. But she figured he wouldn't dare do anything to Zhao Hong. At night, the quilts were laid out on the kong in the room, and a small lamp was lit, making the room not very bright. Zhao Hong and Bai Tsang entered the room. Zhao Hong sat on the edge of the Kong to take off his shoes and asked, "Do you know the specific situation? I mean, Yuling Shua's situation. If you know, tell me about it." "Ah, I don't know either." Bai Tsang scratched his head, not knowing what situation Zhao Hong was referring to. However, his and Yuling Shua's purpose was definitely something he couldn't talk about. "All right then." Zhao Hong said no more and first took off his shirt. "Whoa." Bai Tsang stared at Zhao Hong's broad back, his eyes widening, his mouth forming an O shape, his gaze instantly fixed. "Huh, did you say something?" Zhao Hong turned his head and asked doubtfully, then his body also turned around. I didn't. No." Hiss. Bai Tsang's eyes instantly widened to their limit. It was as if his eyeballs were about to pop out. He stared at Zhao Hong's body, transfixed. Such a magnificent physique. Subarashii. If he could legally obtain a photo, he would do anything. But how could he take it? He definitely couldn't openly use his phone to take a picture. He'd be done for if discovered. Right now, he could openly admire this body, but if he were found out, he'd lose his chance. "What are you looking at?" Zhao Hong felt a bit creeped out by Bai Tsang's stare, frowned, and questioned him. Bai Tsang immediately averted his gaze and stammered, "Oh no. Nothing, I just feel that you're so well built, your physique is really well trained." "Oh, is that so? It's all right, it's all right." Zhao Hong was quite pleased to hear Bai Tsang praise his physique. Of course, when you work out, you hope others think you have a good body. Previously, only Yimin Gran would say so, and now Bai Tsang was saying it too, so naturally, he was happy. "Really? It's really good. These muscles, truly impressive." Zhao Hong laughed happily, then raised his arm and tensed it, his biceps hardening. He said, "Ha ha ha, want to try?" Coming. Bai Tsang didn't hesitate for even a second. He turned his head and came over, his eyes as determined as if he were joining the party, his outstretched hand darting out like a viper, striking its prey. "Oh, this, top grade. Oh no, amazing, amazing." Bai Tsang kneaded Zhao Hong's arm, clicking his tongue and muttering under his breath. Though he appeared nonchalant, his eyes were practically shining. "Let me see you, have you worked out?" Zhao Hong reached out to feel Bai Tsang's arm, then patted his shoulder, chest, and so on. Afterwards, Zhao Hong nodded and said, Quite solid." Although his muscles weren't large, he was quite firm. Another thing Zhao Hong didn't understand was, when he was feeling him just now, why did Bai Tsang have that look of enjoyment on his face? Was it his imagination? Meanwhile, in the next room where Yimin Gran and the others were staying, Tang Ji and Yuling Shua were pressed tightly against the wall, listening to the sound from next door. Yimin Gran, standing behind them, was a bit puzzled and asked doubtfully, what are you guys doing?" "Eavesdropping." She didn't understand what there was to eavesdrop on with two guys next door, one of whom was her boyfriend. Tang Ji turned her head, looked at Yimin Gran, and said seriously, "Listen, if we hear any strange sounds or sounds of fighting from next door later, we'll rush over together. Without a second word, we'll help Zhao Hong beat Bai Tsang to death." Yimin Gran showed a bewildered expression, her mouth slightly agape, her face full of confusion. Why would there be strange sounds or sounds of fighting from next door? The two listened for a while, and, thankfully, there were no unusual noises, so they temporarily relaxed. Meanwhile, Zhao Hong and Bai Tsang next door had already turned off the lights. The dark room. Bai Tsang slowly opened his eyes, looking at Zhao Hong in front of him. Zhao Hong was facing away, the quilt not covering him completely, revealing half of his back. Bai Tsang slowly took out his phone from under his quilt and opened the camera. But what troubled him now was how to take the picture. Without the flash, it would be too dark to see clearly. With the flash, he would be discovered. Damn it. Forget it. A true man lives as a hero and dies as a hero's ghost. Click. The flash instantly lit up, clearly illuminating Zhao Hong's back. After taking the picture, Bai Tsang quickly hid his phone under the quilt, closed his eyes, and pretended to be asleep in a second. At the same time, Zhao Hong was startled, lifted his head for a look, and muttered, "Was that thunder?" Bai Tsang kept his eyes tightly shut, his heart pounding like a drum, about to leap out of his throat. He was extremely nervous. But luckily, Zhao Hong didn't notice. After all, he was facing away. After a moment of surprise, he suspected the electric light had flickered. It was the countryside. After all, so minor issues were normal. He didn't suspect anything and closed his eyes to continue sleeping. Only then did Bai Tsang breathe a sigh of relief. He covered himself with the quilt and secretly looked at his phone. In his phone's photo album was the picture he had just surreptitiously taken of Zhao Hong. Although it was a bit blurry because he had withdrawn it too quickly, at least he had captured it. Bai Tsang was instantly satisfied, The corners of his mouth turned up, and he closed his eyes, preparing to sleep. Buzz, buzz. Just then, Baitsong's phone vibrated. A message had arrived. He picked it up and saw it was surprisingly from Yuling Shua. I'm checking your phone album tomorrow. If you don't let me see it, it proves you're up to something. Delete it ASAP, or I'll tell Zhao Hong. Damn it, that bastard Yuling Shua. In the morning, Zhao Hong opened his eyes and stretched. He sat up and glanced back at Baitsong. You're awake so early. He saw that Baitsong had already opened his eyes, but his condition seemed a bit off, not like he'd slept all night, but more like he hadn't slept at all. His eyelids were drooping, his complexion was dull and sallow, and he had faint dark circles under his eyes. Good morning. I probably didn't sleep well last night. The Kong must have been too hard. Baitsong slowly sat up and moved his body a bit. In reality, it wasn't that he hadn't slept well. He was very sleepy, he just didn't want to sleep. That's right, he had kept his eyes open, watching Zhao Hong sleep all night long. Sleeping on a hard surface is good for your back. Zhao Hong, on the other hand, had slept quite well. He quite liked sleeping on this kind of relatively hard Kong. After Zhao Hong and Baitsong had tidied up and gone out, they found the three girls were already up, talking about something with Grandpa and Grandma. Morning, Zhao Hong walked over and reached out to hold Mingran's hand. Mingran turned her head, and upon seeing Zhao Hong, she smiled faintly, stood on her tiptoes, and gave him a light kiss on the cheek. Good morning. Yuling Shua looked at Baitsong, frowned, and questioned him in a low voice. Were you well-behaved last night? Of course, what else could I do? Look at you. Baitsong turned his head away, snorted with a slight laugh, and answered quietly. What are you talking about? Zhao Hong asked, puzzled, seeing them all there. Tang Ji pointed at Yuling Shua and said, We plan to accompany Yuling Shua to see her mother today, and then she'll go back with us. Is that so? Okay, let's go together then. But with so many of us going, isn't that a bit much? Zhao Hong looked at Yuling Shua and asked. There were 5 of them in total. Would it be a bit inappropriate for all of them to visit Yuling Shua's mother? What if the family found it troublesome? Yuling Shua, however, quickly shook her head and denied it. No, it's fine. My mother will definitely be very happy. She used to say that I should bring friends over to play. That's good then. Let's go buy some things first. We can't go empty-handed, Zhao Hong said, putting his arm around Mingran's shoulder. Mingran nodded in agreement with Zhao Hong. Although Yuling Shua repeatedly said there was no need to bring anything, that just their presence would be enough, she couldn't persuade the stubborn Zhao Hong and Mingran. The group had breakfast at Yuling Shua's grandparents' house, and then prepared to leave. Grandma, I'll come see you another day. Although I said yesterday I could stay for a long time. Now, the plan has changed. It's okay. Just you coming to see us makes us very happy. Much better than your dad. That's right. Go play with your good friends. What's a grown girl like you doing cooped up in the countryside with old folks all day? Go on. Just come back when you have time. Grandma will make you more delicious food. Yuling Shua nodded, a smile gracing her lips. Everyone said goodbye to the grandparents and left. Zhao Hong and Baitsong helped carry Yuling Shua's luggage, which made Yuling Shua feel quite embarrassed. It seemed too impolite to let Zhao Hong help with her luggage. However, Zhao Hong was very insistent. As a boy, he felt he definitely should help, as if it were the proper thing to do. The group boarded a bus and, after about half an hour, arrived in a suburban area. Even Zhao Hong and the others had never been here before because it was so remote. The streets, compared to the city center, seemed like 2 different worlds. Zhao Hong and the others were a bit stunned when they got off the bus. Mingran turned her head and asked Yuling Shua, Are you sure we didn't get off at the wrong place? Is this it? It is. Yuling Shua nodded. She wouldn't mistake the place. This was it. Zhao Hong tilted his head, his brow furrowing slightly, and asked doubtfully, Wait, your family owns a big hotel, and your mom lives here? For real? Yuling Shua silently lowered her head and said softly, My biological mother lives here. Yuling Shua's words made everyone else fall silent. Listening to her, it seemed there was a story behind it. A hint of sadness flickered in Yuling Shua's eyes. After a moment of silence, she explained in a low voice, My parents divorced when I was very young. I've always lived with my father. They both remarried soon after. My father married a wealthy woman, and that's how he gradually achieved what he has today. After hearing this, Tang Ji snorted coldly and said, No wonder. I was wondering why your dad always comes up with such dirty tricks. So that's how he got ahead himself. Now she understood. No wonder Yuling Shua's father was so despicable. He himself was a prime example of someone who lived off a woman. The wealth gap is too big. You're really something, able to switch between them so freely. Baitsong looked up at the street and couldn't help but sigh. Yuling Shua could navigate high society and also fit in perfectly in such a down-to-earth place, without any sense of incongruity. Only Yin Mingran noticed something. She walked over to Yuling Shua, gently patted her back, and asked softly, "So, you're working hard to succeed because you want... I want to give my mother a good life. My father doesn't let me give money to my mother, so I have to earn it myself." Oh, Yin Mingran nodded in realization, understanding Yuling Shua's reason for working so hard. For a moment, she felt a pang of sympathy for this girl, who was carrying too much. Zhao Hong blinked, paused for a moment, then slowly spoke. "Then let me ask a presumptuous question. Your father and the woman he remarried, do they have children?" They have a son. He's 14 this year." Ugh. Zhao Hong and Bai Tsong's lips twitched, and they pursed their lips. The situation was already very clear. The future family inheritance would definitely go to that boy, and wouldn't have much to do with Yuling Shua. All of a sudden, Yuling Shua's pressure increased even more. She was originally a wealthy young lady, but looking at it now, her situation seemed quite pitiful. The atmosphere suddenly became a bit awkward. Everyone was silent for a long time. After a while, Yin Mingran finally spoke. All right, let's not talk about this for now. Let's go buy some things first, and then go see Yuling Shua's mother." The group bought some gifts in the small town. Although they weren't very expensive, as there weren't many expensive things available, it was still better than going empty-handed. Afterwards, they followed Yuling Shua to a residential building. The building looked a bit old, had no elevator, and was only 6 stories high. Yuling Shua went to the first floor, stood at a door, and knocked. Coming. After a moment, a woman's voice came from inside, along with the sound of quick footsteps approaching the door. "Who is it?" "Mom, it's me, Xiaoxiu." "Ah." The woman was surprised, then opened the door and slowly peeked her head out, looking outside. The woman should have been in her 40s, but from her face, full of wrinkles and weathered by hardship, one could see how hard she usually worked. Her skin looked like that of someone in their 50s. The moment she saw Yuling Shua, her eyes suddenly widened, then lit up with surprise and joy. "Yeah, Xiaoxiu is here. Oh my, I missed you to death." The woman immediately opened the door wide, spread her arms, and instantly pulled Yuling Shua into a tight hug, so excited she seemed about to jump. Mom, I didn't come alone. I have friends with me." "Ah." Yuling Shua's mother paused, turned her head to the side, and only then saw Zhao Hong and the other 3. "Hello, Annie." The 4 of them greeted her in unison. Yuling Shua's mother was stunned for a few seconds, blinked, then finally let go of Yuling Shua, her face blooming into a smile. "Hey, hello, please come in." She warmly welcomed everyone, opened the door wider, and let them all in. Zhao Hong and the others, carrying their gifts, walked in. "Annie, we bought this for you. Where should we put it?" "Io, kids, why buy things when you just come a visit?" "Really?" Annie appreciates the thought, but Annie can't accept it. You should take it back. "Oh, Auntie, please just accept it. We've already bought it. We'll put it here by the door, okay?" They placed the purchased items by the door before taking off their shoes and going inside. The entire apartment was about 60 square meters, with 1 bedroom, 1 kitchen, 1 bathroom, and a very small living room. "Sorry, the place is a bit small. Please sit. I'll get you some water." Yuling Shua's mother quickly tidied the sofa, patting it with her hand. Yin Mingran quickly stepped forward to help. "Say, it's okay, Annie. Don't trouble yourself. You should sit down and have a good talk with Yuling Shua. You've missed her a lot, haven't you?" No trouble at all. This child is so nice." Yuling Shua's mother looked at Yin Mingran and nodded with a smile. Yuling Shua quickly stepped forward and said, "Mom, let me introduce them to you. These are all my best friends." "Ah, one of them isn't." Tis Kiss by Tsong's mouth twitched. He didn't need to think to know she was talking about him. After everyone was introduced in turn, the smile never left Yuling Shua's mother's face. It remained there as she looked at these young people, liking them more and more. After a while, she poured water for Zhao Hong and the others, then sat down beside Yuling Shua, took her hand, and said softly, "Why have you lost weight again? Haven't you been eating properly? How have you been lately?" Yuling Shua's mother's words were full of concern for her, as if afraid she wasn't eating enough or dressing warmly enough. This made Yuling Shua's nose tingle again. She herself didn't lack money or clothes, but her mother lived at such a standard. As a daughter, she could do nothing. The money she spent was her father's. If she secretly gave it to her mother, she would definitely be found out, because her financial transactions couldn't escape her father's eyes. Then, her living expenses would be cut off. At that time, She wouldn't yet have the ability to earn money, nor could she put more pressure on her mother. Her plan to give her mother a good life after achieving success would completely fail. So now she hated herself, hated her powerlessness, watching her mother live like this, yet unable to help. Yuling Shua chatted with her mother for a long time, talking about how she was doing, how her studies were what she usually did. Min Gran and the others occasionally chimed in. Yuling Shua's mother listened with great interest. Even the most boring things sounded very interesting to her. After a while, the sound of a key turning in the lock suddenly came from the door. Click! Everyone looked towards the door. A middle-aged man walked in from outside, carrying a bag and wearing glasses, looking quite scholarly. I'm home, wife. The man looked down and saw so many extra pairs of shoes, pausing for a moment. When he looked up, he saw so many people in the living room and was completely stunned. Zhao Hong and the others said nothing, all looking at Yuling Shua. This man should be the person Yuling Shua's mother remarried. Yuling Shua's stepfather. Yuling Shua's mother quickly stood up, walked over, and said, Old Li, look who's here. My precious daughter came to see me, and her friends. Yuling Shua also stood up and greeted him politely. Uncle Li, long time no see. Aya, Xiao Shua is here. This is really long time no see. You've become more and more beautiful. Old Li adjusted his glasses and also showed a kind smile. He took off his shoes and walked in. Zhao Hong and the others followed suit, standing up and greeting, Hello, Uncle Li. Hey, good, kids, sit down quickly. Wife, it's already noon. Have you cooked? Cook for the kids. Yuling Shua's mother slapped her forehead and said, Ayo, look at my brain. I was so busy chatting with Xiao Shua, I completely forgot. I'll go cook right away. Just as she was about to go to the kitchen, Old Li stopped her, saying, All right, you haven't seen Xiao Shua for so long. You go chat with her properly. I'll cook for you all. We'll all eat here in a bit. I'll make a couple of extra dishes. Try my cooking. After saying that, Old Li put down his bag, rolled up his sleeves, and went to the kitchen. Yuling Shua's mother's face was full of happiness, which everyone else could see. Min Gran whispered in Yuling Shua's ear, Uncle Li seems like a nice person. He's good to you too, right? Yuling Shua nodded and replied softly, He's an elementary school teacher. He taught me a lot since I was little, and he's especially good to me and my mom. The group had a meal together at Yuling Shua's mother's house, chatted for a long time, and didn't leave until the afternoon. Yuling Shua's mother reluctantly saw them off. Although she really wanted her daughter to stay over, she didn't even have a spare bedroom. Yuling Shua also promised to visit her often in the future. After all, only here could she experience familial love. Welcome home. Yuling Shua returned to the house next door to Zhao Heng's, becoming their neighbor again. Furthermore, Min Gran invited Yuling Shua to have dinner at their place that evening. This time, Yuling Shua readily agreed, without any hesitation. After that, they often had dinner together. Being neighbors, sometimes they ate at Zhao Heng's place, and sometimes at Yuling Shua's. Days passed one by one, until one day, Zhao Hong and the others received a delivery. Zhao Hong looked at the delivery person at the door, momentarily stunned, then took the 2 packages from his hands. What is it? Min Gran heard the sound, came over from the living room, and her eyes widened when she saw what Zhao Hong was holding. Honey, is this? It is. Zhao Hong reacted and quickly tore open the package in his hand. Acceptance letter. As soon as Zhao Heng's surprised words fell, Min Gran excitedly hugged him. That's great. It finally arrived. Zhao Hong reached out, happily lifted Min Gran, and spun her around several times in joy. In their hands were, indeed, the acceptance letters from Dongzhi University. When the scores were released, Zhao Hong already knew it was pretty much set. Now that he finally had it in hand, he could rest assured. I'll go next door and see if Yuling Shua's acceptance letter has arrived. Min Gran quickly ran out the door, went next door, and knocked. Before even a second had passed, Yuling Shua opened the door, as if she were just about to go out herself. Min Gran looked at Yuling Shua and saw that she was holding the same thing in her hand as she was, an acceptance letter. The 2 girls looked at each other and smiled, their hearts filled with joy. That evening, Zhao Hong invited his friends for dinner. Tang Ji and Bai Tsang had also been accepted to Dongzhi University, while Yao Haomiao, Zhu Tao, and the others had chosen different schools. They had already agreed to go together. Although they also really wanted to be with Zhao Hong and the others, even if they weren't at the same university, their friendship wouldn't break. Throughout the evening, the group happily drank, and the atmosphere was jubilant. Yuling Shua had also drunk a bit too much, her face flushed red. Using the excuse of needing some fresh air, she temporarily stepped out for a while. She went outside, feeling the cool summer night breeze, looked up at the full moon, gently tucked her hair behind her ear, a faint smile on her lips. For the first time in her life, she felt so comfortable, feeling that the future was promising and life was beautiful. Sigh. Just then she heard a sigh. She turned her head to look behind her and saw that Baitsong had also come out, looking rather troubled. What's wrong? The thought of having to continue battling with you in university just makes me feel helpless, really. Baitsong stood beside Yuling Shua, shaking his head helplessly. Yuling Shua paused for a moment, then continued to look up at the moon and said softly, "Not anymore. The path I'll be taking in the future will be different from yours. Let's just both do our best on our own paths." Huh? What do you mean? Baitsong was instantly stunned, looking at Yuling Shua with a blank expression, unsure of what she meant. It means your competitor will no longer be me. I have other options. Yuling Shua chuckled softly and said to Baitsong in a low voice. Baitsong sensed something was different. Previously, whenever Yuling Shua spoke to him, her words were always laced with gunpowder, very aggressive. But now, her tone was gentle. Hey, can you not be like this? It's really strange. Baitsong took 2 steps back, looking at Yuling Shua with a stiff expression, his mouth twitching. He had been competing with Yuling Shua for so long, and this was the first time he had seen her like this. It was really awkward. She means from now on, your competitor will be me. Just then, another familiar voice came from behind them. They both turned around and saw that Tang Ji slowly walking over, standing between them. Baitsong blinked, not reacting for a moment. What? I said from now on, your competitor is me. She's going to hang out with Yin Gran, Tang Ji said, pointing to Yuling Shua beside her. Yuling Shua gave an embarrassed smile and muttered, you found out. Yeah, Yin Gran had a bit too much to drink just now, and I managed to get it out of her. This is the good thing you mentioned back then, right? Yes. Yuling Shua lowered her head and replied softly. She hadn't expected Yin Gran to reveal it. She had wanted to keep it a secret. After all, if only she knew, her chances of success would be higher with fewer competitors. It's good, suits you well, and you won't have to work so hard, Tang Ji said lightly, patting Yuling Shua's shoulder. No, wait, what do you mean? I don't get it. Baitsong listened from the side, completely fogged, and the more he listened, the more something fell off. What puzzled him the most was his competitor becoming Tang Ji. When competing with Yuling Shua, he had been quite confident. Now, how did it suddenly become hell mode? Tang Ji turned her head, looked at Baitsong, and said, "That's just how it is. Work hard. I hope we can have healthy competition. Don't engage in that kind of malicious competition like before." No, how could I possibly compete with you, Sister Tang? I don't have that kind of strength. Baitsong instantly wilted. How is this any different from declaring defeat already? Stop underestimating yourself. You're about to attend the same university as me. Our starting points in learning are the same. I don't have your family's large enterprise. You clearly have the advantage, okay? Baitsong was speechless. He knew Tang Ji was right, but the key problem was himself. If he had Tang Ji's brains, would he need to be afraid? Wait, Tang Ji frowned slightly, as if she had suddenly thought of something, and turned her head towards the restaurant. Do you think Liao Haomiao might also want to compete then? Yuling Shua and Baitsong were taken aback by Tang Ji's words. They had really overlooked this person, the top student in their grade, an equally intelligent person. If anyone could compete with Tang Ji, Liao Haomiao truly had the qualifications. We have to be on guard. Tang Ji and the other two returned to the restaurant. At this time, Zhao Hong and Liao Haomiao were still chatting, both quite happy from drinking, and their conversation was becoming increasingly animated. Tang Ji sat back down, her gaze on Liao Haomiao, as if pondering something. But after thinking for a moment, she stopped. She felt she was overthinking things, which wasn't like her. Competition, well, she had never been afraid of it, no matter who it was. It wasn't until late at night that the group dispersed and prepared to leave. After saying goodbye to each other at the entrance, they went their separate ways. Yuling Shua was very considerate. Although her way home was the same as Zhao Hong and Yin Ran's, she didn't disturb their private time and left first. Zhao Hong and Yin Gran walked along the quiet street, deliberately slowing their pace, strolling leisurely. Hey, baby. What's wrong? Yin Gran looked up at Zhao Hong, smiling sweetly. Haven't we? Still got one thing we haven't discussed. It seems. We do. Yin Gran instantly knew what Zhao Hong wanted to talk about. After all, this matter was probably the most important thing to her. It was what Zhao Heng's father had said after they had dinner with his parents last time and were taking them back. So do you think we should really get married now? Zhao Hong scratched his head and asked softly. He had actually been thinking about it a lot these past few days. After all, marriage is such an important event, it requires careful consideration. Moreover, his parents were personally urging them, and the person he was to marry was the one he loved most, so he naturally cared a great deal. Min Gran was silent for a moment, seriously pondering the matter in her heart. To be honest, if she could marry Zhao Hong right now, on the spot, it would be a wonderful thing, something she couldn't wish for more. However, as much as she wanted to, she also had to consider the practicalities. Getting married now, would the pros outweigh the cons, or vice versa? What do you think? Min Gran looked up and asked him back. No matter what she thought, she would definitely respect Zhao Hong's choice. His decision was the most important. What I'm thinking is, Zhao Hong didn't say his thoughts out loud, because his true feeling was that getting married right now was a bit too rushed. He still wanted to get the marriage certificate first, to be legally recognized, and then openly and formally marry Min Gran. Otherwise, he felt people would gossip, especially since their statuses were a bit different now. He estimated Min Gran would be harshly gossiped about behind her back. However, if he said it directly now, it might seem like he didn't want to marry Min Gran soon, and he was afraid Min Gran would be unhappy or disappointed. I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you. Zhao Hong changed his tune and handed the decision over to Min Gran. Min Gran nodded lightly, thought seriously for a moment, then slowly said, Then, I think we should wait a bit. Really? You think so too? Zhao Hong raised an eyebrow, somewhat surprised. But it's not that I don't want to marry you sooner. I just feel, if we get married now, the meaning is a bit not quite right, as if we're rushing to get married because I'm afraid you'll run away. Min Gran knew what Zhao Hong's father meant. He wanted them to get married quickly so that others wouldn't make marriage proposals, and they wouldn't have to bother rejecting them. However, she didn't quite like a marriage with that kind of meaning. Besides, she wasn't afraid Zhao Hong would run away. She trusted Zhao Hong and didn't need to use marriage to tie him down. From what Zhao Hong had said earlier, it seemed he had the same idea. Then let's wait. This day won't be too far off anyway. Okay. Min Gran hugged Zhao Hong's arm, leaned her head on his shoulder, and replied softly. Then, Zhao Hong reached out, scratched his cheek, looking like he wanted to say something but was hesitating. What's wrong? Even if we don't get married for now, we will eventually, right? So, can we call each other? Zhao Hong's voice grew softer. The meaning of what he was saying was already clear. He was just a bit embarrassed, because during dinner today, after drinking, Zhu Tao had called Liao Haomiao that. After hearing it, he had fantasized about Min Gran calling him that. He really wanted to hear it. Min Gran blinked, slightly stunned. Then, the corners of her mouth slowly curved up, her voice very gentle and sweet. Hubby. That word, like a bullet, instantly struck Zhao Hong's heart. At this moment, he felt absolutely ecstatic. So this was how it felt to be called that by the person he loved most. So wonderful. Why? Wifey. Zhao Hong also called out softly. In an instant, Min Gran's little heart felt as if it had been squeezed, and then her heartbeat quickened rapidly. Her reaction was no less than Zhao Hong's. Her cheeks also quickly turned rosy, her ears becoming red too. She lowered her head and softly answered, Amazing. At this moment, the ambiguous atmosphere between them spread rapidly, enveloping them tightly. Although they fell into a brief silence, they could both feel the boundless love from each other. They knew that after they got home, there had to be a passionate encounter to release this overflowing love. The vacation time was not long. Before school started, they often went out to play together. Soon, the summer vacation was coming to an end. With only a few days left before school began, everyone started packing their things, preparing to welcome their university life. Zhao Hong and Min Gran were at home packing their luggage. They both had quite a lot of clothes, and they should take everything they could. After school started, they would have to terminate the lease on this house and would no longer live here. Just then, Zhao Hong thought of a problem. Wifey, when we get to Dongzhou, are we going to have to live in dorms? No, surely not. Can't we live together? Min Gran was stunned, clearly a bit dazed. She and Zhao Hong had been living together for so long. Separating them would be like killing her. Living in dorms was definitely not an option. Doesn't matter. We must live together. I'll talk to my dad then. Didn't he make arrangements for me at the school? If we can't live together at the school then, we'll rent a place outside. Okay. Hearing Zhao Hong's answer, Min Gran felt relieved and nodded happily. Zhao Hong looked up, gazing out the window. The thought that his university studies would be extremely demanding made him a little worried. So how exactly did he arrange things for me?